Chapter 697. If Finger in the Heavens and Xuanjin fought, no matter who won, Blood Alliance wouldn't be able to escape the public's attention. However, if Xuanjin lost, then the biggest loser would be Blood Alliance. If Finger in the Heavens lost, then at least Blood Alliance wouldn't lose so much face. However, Blood Red War Flag understood Xuanjin's temper too well. All of them were practical and didn't care about integrity at all. If the money was enough, they could get Finger in the Heavens to kill them a few times to gain fame. This was something that Xuanjin would do. Finger in the Heavens definitely didn't lack money. Xuanjin definitely didn't care about their reputation. If Xuanjin really chose to keep quiet and get rich, then Blood Alliance wouldn't be able to face anyone in Yuhuiqing anymore. So Blood Red War Flag had to first expose Finger in the Heavens being attacked by Xuanjin so that the two sides wouldn't be able to work together. Blood Alliance had the advantage in numbers. After the tens of thousands of players received the order, all of them went offline and logged onto the forums. Close to 10,000 people posting at the same time was even more arrogant than a popcorn. In minutes, Finger in the Heavens and the others' posts were drowned in the ocean. As expected, after seeing Blood Alliance's post, Big Bear and the others' faces turned green. They threw down their mouse and hurriedly entered the game. Big Bear entered the game and immediately sent a message to Captain Don't Shoot. Captain, what happened? Blood Rain's team had been wiped out in less than 20 minutes. Their team leader, Don't Shoot, also had a look of despair on his face. After receiving Big Bear's report, he sighed and replied, "Those guys are too sinister. They're hiding here and there and using guerrilla tactics. We can't do anything to them." Guerrilla tactics? Big Bear was confused. Didn't they block the revival point? What is there to block? These people are really cunning. They leave the moment they get close to us like rabbits. When there are more people, they hide. When there are less people, they fight. Even Blood Rain and the others suffered losses. Why don't we just let it go? Captain Don't Shoot was a little afraid. He finally understood why Blood Alliance had to give in to Xuanjin even though they had close to 10,000 people. Fighting with this group of cunning people, they wouldn't be able to gain an advantage. Even if they did, their reputation wouldn't be good. Plus, these people were a bunch of desperados. They would come out every few days to ambush them. No matter how strong a guild was, it would be destroyed. After all, these people were more vicious than the other. They could even wipe out professional teams, not to mention normal players. Forget? When Big Bear heard that the captain was going to compromise and not shoot, he immediately panicked and hurriedly said, "Don't. We've already announced it in the World Channel. If we compromise now, wouldn't that be slapping our own faces?" Captain Don Shoot said, "It's better than dying." Big Bear and the others saw that their leader had lost all his fighting spirit and was at a loss of what to do. The revival point was the place with the most human traffic in a main city. If they didn't continue fighting now, wouldn't that prove that the post about Finger the Heavenly Sword getting beaten up on the forums was true? With so many people watching from Yuhui City, Sword Points to the Heavens was truly unable to back down this time. Xuanjin's Chun Xiang added me as a friend. Just as Captain Don Shoot was hesitating, he received a friend request. Captain Don Shoot opened it. It was Chun Xiang. Why did he add you as a friend? Yuhuiqing was confused. I'm not sure. Captain Don Shoot was confused too. At this moment, Chun Xiang sent a message. "Leader of Finger Heaven Sword, we haven't seen each other in a while. I didn't think that we would meet again in such a situation." Captain Don Shoot was speechless. "We have no choice. Why is Brother Chun looking for me? We've known each other for a long time. Everything can be discussed." Captain Don Shoot thought that Chun Xiang was going to tell on them. His tone was trying to sow discord. Chun Xiang smiled when he saw his captain's words. He then said, "We should discuss it. Actually, we don't have any enmity with your guild, right?" "Brother Chun, what do you mean?" Spring Soar said, "Let's cut to the chase. Our Quan Zhan Sect's strength should be clear to you, right? Xuanjin lives up to its name." Captain Don Shoot praised sincerely. To be honest, Captain Don Shoot thought that Xuanjin was just a group of hooligans. Who knew that they were a group of bandits? Then, who do you think will be at a disadvantage if this continues? Chun Xiang asked. Hee hee. Captain Don Shoot chuckled. In a head-on battle, Chuanjin might not be a match for Finger Heaven Sword. It seemed that Captain Don Shoot was really afraid of being beaten up. He used the word might not at this moment. I admit that in a head-on battle, Chuanjin is definitely not a match for Finger Heaven Sword. But why should we fight with so many of you? I think it's quite interesting to stab people in the back. Chun Xiang said without hesitation. You, Captain Don Shoot, was annoyed. Why are these bastards so shameless? How can they say that they're stabbing people in the back so calmly? Captain, don't be too angry. There is still room for a solution, Chun Xiang said. Oh, how? Captain Don Shoot asked in surprise. It's simple. Return what you stole from us, Chun Xiang said. That's it, Captain Don Shoot said happily. This condition was as easy as lifting a finger for Finger Heavenly Sword. Of course, we, Chuanjin, are the most reasonable. Chun Xiang said shamelessly, but I'm afraid it's not appropriate for you to retreat just like that. I've heard rumors on the forum. Captain Don Shoot was stunned. Then what do you think we should do? Chun Xiang's words were critical to Captain Don Shoot. Now that the two sides suddenly stopped, the rumors on the forum became true, even if they were fake. Chun Xiang laughed. It's even easier for Captain Don Shoot. Oh, tell me about it. Captain Don Shoot said. If it can be solved with money, it's usually not a problem. As long as you pay for the psychological damage, we, Chuanjin, will let you kill us a few times to make a name for ourselves. How about that? Chun Xiang smiled and showed his knife. Captain Don Shoot was stunned. How shameless were these people? They actually betrayed their moral integrity. Of course, Captain Don Shoot was a nouveau riche. He was lacking in everything but money. Captain Don Shoot asked, how much do you want? Spring Source said, our Quanjin sect has a total of 11 combatants. The appearance fee and mental damage fee for each person should be at least 10,000 gold. Since we're old acquaintances, I'll give you a discount. How about 100,000 gold? Seeing Chun Xiang's message, Captain Don Shoot spat out a mouthful of blood. Although gold had depreciated, the exchange rate against RMB was at least 60. 100,000 gold was 6 million. Including the tax and handling fees, it was close to 7 million. 7 million psychological damage fee? Were these people from Chuanjin or Beggar's Sect? They actually dared to ask for it. Chapter 698. How much money was 7 million? Although the purchasing power of RMB wasn't that high, 7 million was still not a small amount. Blood Rain, the most valuable player in Finger Heaven, only had a contract of 30 million a year, which was 50% higher than the other top gods. Chuanjin had only been killed a few times, yet they dared to ask for 7 million. This was simply insane. Captain Don't Shoot was rich, and it wasn't like he couldn't fork out 100,000 gold, but he wasn't stupid. Throwing out 7 million just to hear the sound of a gun wasn't something a normal person would do. Brother Chun, are you kidding me? I wouldn't need 7 million to hire people to kill top-tier pros. Captain Don't Shoot replied indifferently. Captain Don't Shoot's meaning was clear. Although Chuanjin was strong, there was still a gap between them and top-tier pros. How could they be worth 7 million? Chun Xiang laughed. Just dying a few times naturally wouldn't cost that much, but you're also buying our Chuanjin's face. Do you guys even care about face? If it wasn't for the fact that Captain Don't Shoot's words were aimed at Chun Xiang's face, he had never heard of Chuanjin's people caring about face. Then, your face is really expensive, Captain Don't Shoot sighed. Of course, our Chuanjin is also people who care about face, Chun Xiang said shamelessly. Let me think about it. It seemed that 7 million wasn't a big deal to Captain Don't Shoot. He actually didn't deny it on the spot, but chose to think about it. If it was a petty team like Blood Red War Flag, even if they were facing Chuanjin, they would probably become famous. Okay, I'll wait for your reply. Chun Xiang seemed to have expected this and replied indifferently. How is it? What did Captain Don't Shoot say? Seeing that Chun Xiang had finished chatting, Wang Yu stuck his head out and asked. Chun Xiang said, just like what Wu Ji said, he wants to think about it. Bao San said, he still needs to think about it? If I were him, I would definitely pay without hesitation if I met an opponent like us. Saying this, Bao San turned his head and glanced at Wang Yu. 7 million isn't a small amount. I have to think about it no matter what, Wang Yu said with a smile. Will he agree? The always cautious Bai Ming Yu asked Wu Ji. As a professional mercenary and a former guild leader, Bai Ming Yu's line of thought was the same as Captain Don't Shoot. They both started with how much money they would earn per person. 10,000 gold per person was an unimaginably high price. Wu Ji coldly laughed. They have no choice. If I am not wrong, Blood Alliance will definitely flood the forums. Do you think Finger the Heavens has a way out? That's true. Why would the Blood Alliance suddenly interfere? Wu Ji, did you also plot against Battle Flag? Wang Yu asked in confusion. That's true. Wang Yu was an honest person. He had always felt guilty about the Blood Alliance suddenly joining them. Although the Blood Alliance didn't help them on the surface, they had secretly helped the complete reality sect quite a bit. No matter how one looked at it, it didn't feel right to plot against the Blood Alliance at this time. No, Wu Ji shook his head. The reason why things developed to this stage was because of Blood Red War Flag. If they messed with Finger the Heavens, then Finger the Heavens wouldn't have chosen to work with us. Who knew that Finger the Heavens would be more eager to prove themselves than them? We just got rich along the way. Blood Red War Flag too. Why did they suddenly do this? Yin Lao was confused. In the end, it's because they don't trust you guys. Look at how you've caused them to be traumatized. Wang Yu's heart was very clear. His words revealed the truth. F***, you shameless bastard. You make it sound like Blood Alliance, isn't you? You're the one who tricked Blood Alliance the most. Everyone looked at him with disdain. Wang Yu was speechless. What could he do? Everyone was speaking the truth. They all lived in the same main city. Wang Yu obviously knew about the rumors that were boasting about him. The main source of Blood Alliance's trauma was self-evident. Of course, Wang Yu was fighting them head-on. The reason why Blood Red War Flag did this was because of how despicable Wu Ji and the others were. What if they don't give it to us? Ming Jian Daoshu asked. It doesn't matter if they don't give it to us. Everything is under control. Even if they don't give it to us now, they will give it to us sooner or later. Wu Ji laughed coldly. They've messed with us and they think they can just let it go like this. How can there be such a good thing? Ji Daoshu has said in the channel, that's right. If they dare to mess with us, they'll definitely lose a layer of skin. Can you not be so disgusting? Yang Na said with disdain. Exactly. Mingdu said with disdain to place one's pride. We need to work hard to be a pile of shit so that no one dares to step on us. Everyone, bitch, go die. Sword pointed at the sky. Captain Don't Shoot said with a serious expression. Chuanjin said we can kill them a few times. That's great, Big Bear said excitedly upon hearing that. But we need money, Captain said again. Big Bear didn't care. It's just money. How much? 100,000 gold. Captain gestured a number. F***, why don't these people go rob? Big Bear heard this number and almost fell off his seat. They said that robbery is a crime. Captain mumbled and then said, Okay, I just want to discuss with everyone whether or not to spend this 100,000 gold. Blood Rain, what do you think I should do? Captain Don't Shoot looked at Blood Rain and asked. Blood Rain, who had been silent, thought about it and said, It's just 100,000 gold. Boss, you don't lack money. Just give it to them. I think this advertising fee is worth it. At the start, this was just a conflict between Sword in the Sky and Chuanjin. Now that Blood Alliance had tens of thousands of players and trolls everywhere, the world was in chaos. If they chose to work with Chuanjin, then Sword in the Sky would definitely become famous. After all, this was the main purpose of Sword pointing to the heavens, to ambush the Quanjin sect. Blood Rain had fought with the Quanjin sect before. At this time, after a little consideration, he came to a conclusion. Rather than offending that group of terrifying fellows, it was better to directly spend money and settle things. Who knew that as soon as Blood Rain said this, Big Bear was unhappy. He rolled his eyes at Blood Rain and said, God, Blood Rain, are you afraid of being beaten up? You're like this after one failure. You don't seem like a professional god. Do you know how much 100,000 gold is? Blood Rain looked at Big Bear and said to Captain Don't Shoot, I was just giving a suggestion. In the end, the boss has the final say. Yes. Captain Don't Shoot nodded and said unhappily, It's true that I don't lack money, but I don't want others to think that my money is easy to cheat. Chapter 699. Bloodred was Bloodrain's disciple and had the closest relationship with Bloodrain. Although their master-disciple relationship in the game wasn't as exaggerated as it was in real life, Bloodred couldn't bear to see Bloodrain being looked down upon. Bloodred stood up and spoke with a hint of anger. Don't Shoot was the boss, but facing these pro players, Don't Shoot didn't dare to be too arrogant. After all, these pro players were the ones who signed the contract. If these pro players really didn't work hard, Don't Shoot couldn't do anything about it. No, Don't Shoot said awkwardly. If Chuanjin was willing to fight head-on with sword pointing at the sky, they wouldn't need to waste so many words. They could just go over, and no matter how many Chuanjin players there were, they would be wiped out. Head-on? At this moment, Big Bear rubbed his chin. I have a way to force them to fight head-on. Oh, what way? Bloodred glanced at Big Bear and asked, have you heard of the saying that a monk can run, but the temple can't? Big Bear laughed. Everyone was stunned. You mean? That's right. We will wipe out their base. I don't believe that they won't come out. Even if they're determined not to come out, it doesn't matter. Base battles will be announced by the system. Big Bear smiled sinisterly. Right, Big Bear, you have a way. We actually forgot about that. Captain Don't Shoot said excitedly when he heard that. Guild bases were the most important activity locations for guilds. Not only were there many facilities, it was much more convenient than queuing up in the main city. Furthermore, the guild warehouse was much bigger than the main city's bank. Most of the players' assets would be stored in the guild warehouse. In the system settings, if one side initiated a base battle and the side that was declared didn't fight back, it would be considered as surrendering. At that time, everything in the base would belong to the winning side, including everything in the warehouse. So now that sword pointing at the sky initiated a base battle against Chuanjin, Chuanjin had to face it head-on. Otherwise, Chuanjin's base would be looted by sword pointing at the sky. No one could afford such a loss. The most important thing was that the base battle was a huge matter and the system would announce it. If they could wipe out Chuanjin's base, then all the Blood Alliance posts on the forums would collapse on their own. Team leader Don't Shoot had been led around in circles by Chuanjin all this time. He had actually forgotten about such a quick method. Fortunately, Big Bear's brain was more flexible, and he immediately thought of this perfect idea. Unexpectedly, Bloodrain didn't buy it. He looked at the team leader and Big Bear indifferently and said, I think it's better to be cautious in the garrison battles. What? Great God, Bloodrain. Could it be that you think that our 4,000 brothers of sword point at the heavens are no match for a mere dozen or so people from Chuanjin? Big Bear and the others immediately became unhappy when they saw Bloodrain questioning them. Not really. Bloodrain shook his head and said, I just don't think it's meaningful because those guys are really hard to deal with, especially that Grandmaster of Combat. I don't even know what to tell you. Big Bear said with disdain, If you don't know what to say, then don't say it. The great god Bloodrain actually dares to boost the morale of others and diminish your own. I think you're afraid of being beaten up. Isn't that right, great god? Big Bear looked at the Bloodrain, and his words carried a thick provocation. What did you say? How could Bloodred take this? Just as she was about to go up and fight back, she was stopped by Bloodrain. Forget it. He's the boss. He has the final say. Bloodrain shook his head and said, Big Bear looked at Bloodred and coldly snorted. He said in the guild channel, Chuanjin's base is at Sunset Valley. Now, Bloodrain, why don't you let me fight him? Bloodred angrily private messaged Bloodrain. Bloodrain smiled and said, As an archer, you must be able to keep your composure. Only when you feel that you are one with the world can you shoot the most perfect arrow. This is what a senior told me when I was playing with the bow. I don't know if it's true, haha. But Bloodred was still angry. Bloodrain said, Let him be. If these guys don't suffer a bit at the hands of Chuanjin, they will look down on us in the future. As soon as Bloodrain finished speaking, Big Bear and I had already arranged everything in the guild channel. Most of the players from Finger Heavens had been beaten up by the cowardly Quan Jun sect before, so they had always been angry. Now that they had an opportunity to bully the weak with numbers, they were all filled with indignation and fighting spirit. Big Bear looked at Blood Rain proudly and then said to all the players from Finger Heavens, I believe that only cowards will fear their opponents and choose to use money to solve their problems. Well said. The players from Finger Heavens were excited again. Motherf asterisk cur. Big Bear's provocation made Blood Red's hair stand up. He wanted to shoot this self-righteous idiot to death with an arrow. Blood Rain smiled and comforted. Calm down. A coward uses money to solve his problems. He is cursing himself. System announcement. Year XXX of the Rebirth calendar. Sword in the Sky has declared war on the Quanjin sect. Let us wait and see who will be the true king. The system announcement was repeated 3 times in a row, resounding throughout the entire main city. Finger Heavens and Xuanjin originally didn't attract much attention. Most people were waiting to see the results. After Blood Alliance interfered, it attracted the attention of some people. When the announcement came out, Yu Huicheng and the other players who didn't pay attention were shocked. D*MN, encampment battle? Is sword points to the heavens for real this time? No way. Didn't the forum say that Finger Heavens was about to be beaten to a pulp by Xuanjin? Why would they dare to declare war? You believe the words on the forums? It's most likely Xuanjin's fake army. I think Xuanjin is finished this time. Finger Heavens pro-level players are all up. Didn't the forum say that the pro team was wiped out? Didn't I just tell you that the forums are full of fake army? All of a sudden, everyone in Yuhuicheng was discussing this matter. Xuanjin's win rate is 1 to 10. Finger Heaven's win rate is 1 to 1. Let's place our bets. The smart players were trying to find a chance to get rich. Since Finger Heavens had declared war and there were pro-level players, Xuanjin's loss rate was very high. Chun Xiang, this gambling addict, was acting up again. He couldn't help but ask Wuji, Wuji, how much are we betting this time? The odds are too low. It's not worth betting. Wuji said, stop messing around. Is 1 to 10 lower? Chun Xiang said. Wuji said, I'm talking about Finger Heaven's odds. What do you mean? Chun Xiang was startled. You mean we might not win? Chapter 700. What? You're really going to throw the base away? Hearing Wuji say this, Chun Xiang immediately thought of how Wuji had instructed Ming Jian to move the warehouse. Of course. Wuji nodded. They have pro-level experts. Without reinforcements, we'll lose no matter what. There's no need to waste energy fighting for the base with them. But the others didn't think much of it, but Chun Xiang, Wang Yu, and the others had a hint of reluctance in their eyes. No matter what, they had worked hard to defend this base. Now that it was about to be broken through, they felt as if they were watching their own children get beaten up by other people's children. They didn't feel good about it at all. All right, don't be sad. I won't let Finger Sword in the Sky have an easy time. Wuji comforted everyone, then asked Ming Jian, have you moved most of the things? Yes. Ming Jian nodded. Everything that can be taken from the guild base has been taken. However, Ming Du isn't here, so we can't take the flower demon. It's in the guild base. A guild's mythical beast was different from a guild's treasure. A guild's treasure was a special tool that could be taken at any time. A guild's mythical beast was something that couldn't be taken away without special methods. The only ones in Xuanjin who knew how to train pets were Mingdu and Exquisite Dream. The two of them were blocked at the revival point. Oh, I see. That's a pity. How many flower demon crowns did you collect? Wuji asked. 1. Famous Sword Daoshua said. All right, we can still get one. At least we didn't waste our efforts. If it's gone, then it's gone. Wuji waved his hand as he spoke. Then what do we do now? Wang Yu asked Wuji. The guild base was about to be gone. They couldn't just sit around and do nothing. Wuji said, let's go have a drink or two. We'll talk after they've taken over the base. The news of the sword pointing to the sky and declaring war on Xuanjin quickly spread. Wang Yu's friends from all over the world sent him messages one after another, asking what was going on. The first to send a message to Wang Yu was Rolling Mario. This wretched guy immediately asked, Boss Iron Ox, what's going on? Do you need help? Wang Yu was excited. It seemed that his friends were quite reliable. In this situation, they were firmly on his side. However, since Wuji said not to resist, Wang Yu also replied, no need. I can't help you even if you use me. Mario, who was rolling away, said, I just wanted to ask if you guys have the confidence to win so that I can place a heavy bet. The forum is open. F asterisk CK. Wang Yu cried. What kind of friends were these? If I can't win, I'll just point my sword at the sky, Wang Yu replied after wiping away his tears. No way, old cow, don't trick me. I really believe in your strength. Mario, who was rolling away, was excited. He must have placed his bet already. The reason why he asked Wang Yu was to buy some peace of mind. Since you trust me so much, then bet on Xuanzhen winning. Wang Yu replied with a smirk and blocked Mario. Following that, team numbers, one-page book, lone wanderer, and the others sent messages one after another. The contents were all the same, and Wang Yu was heartbroken. He felt that he had made a bad friend. Just as Wang Yu was feeling sad, Evildoers Run Wild also sent a message. Brother, someone dares to bully you guys? Do you want me to help you get rid of them? No need to trouble yourself. My good brother. Wang Yu was excited. This was what real brothers should be like. Wang Yu was a good brother. Evildoers Run Wild felt his whole body go numb. He said loudly, F asterisk CK, are you sick? I'm getting goosebumps from all that shouting. I'm just touched. Wang Yu said. Then tell me, can you guys win against Finger the Heavens? I can place my bet here. F asterisk CK off. Wang Yu broke down. What kind of people were these? The other members of Xuanzhen were the best. They were all so awesome that they didn't even have friends. They were drinking to their heart's content. Mingdu, who had escaped from the revival point, pulled Exquisite Dream and bragged, Sister Dream. I'm not trying to brag, but when we attacked this guild encampment, I was the one who took down the boss. Wuji and the others were all trash. Exquisite Dream kicked Mingdu to the side with a face full of disgust and scolded. F asterisk CK. It's just a glass of malt wine, and you're talking in your sleep. You don't want to live anymore. The players in the tavern were all dumbfounded when they saw Xuanzhen's behavior. The guild encampment is about to be destroyed, and these guys are still drinking? They're too calm. Calm my ass. It must be because the encampment was destroyed that they were stimulated. They're having a final party. How pitiful. These guys used to be really fierce. It's a pity that they met Finger the Heavens. Someone shook his head and felt pity for Xuanzhen. At the same time, Finger the Heavens' army had already reached Sunset Valley, in front of Xuanzhen's encampment. Seeing the terrain of Xuanzhen's encampment, the experts from Finger the Heavens couldn't help but sigh. F asterisk CK, as expected of Wu Dalong. What kind of person is he? These guys from Xuanzhen are really wretched. Even the guild encampment is dirty. This pocket terrain is a classic example of a place that's easy to defend and hard to attack. Of course, no matter how awesome the terrain was, it was useless in the face of absolute numbers. The first batch of 500 players from Finger the Heavens formed a formation and attacked under Big Bear's command. Leader Don't Shoot was among them. When everyone saw that there was no one at the entrance of Xuanzhen's encampment, they were stunned. Leader Don't Shoot said with lingering fear, Why is there no one? Did they really surrender? It can't be a trap, right? Leader Don't Shoot was indeed frightened by Xuanzhen's treachery. He was still hesitating in such a situation. What trap? They're just playing an empty fort. Big Bear sneered and commanded the archers to form a formation and attack the encampment's gate. As expected, the players from Finger the Heavens did not encounter any resistance. The guild encampment's gate was torn open. After the gate was torn open, 500 players rushed into the encampment like a swarm of bees and headed straight for the guild crystal. Under everyone's attacks, the guild crystal of Xuanzhen was broken in less than 5 minutes. They didn't even have to use their backup troops. System announcement. Xuanzhen has surrendered without resistance and has been defeated by Finger the Heavens. Finger the Heavens has the right to take over all of Xuanzhen's assets. F asterisk CK. As soon as the system announcement came out, the old players, who knew the strength of the Quanjin sect and had originally bet on the Quanjin sect to win in hopes of making a fortune, were completely stunned. They never expected that the Quanjin sect would really lose this time. Is Finger the Heavens really that powerful? The old players' faith in the Quanjin sect began to crumble. Was this still the invincible guild they had known before? How could they still lose? However, the players from Finger the Heavens were also very depressed. After the crystal was broken, Big Bear and Wait for It excitedly brought people to search the warehouse. In the end, they discovered that Xuanjin was really poor. Not only was there nothing in the warehouse, but there wasn't even a table or chair in the meeting hall. A player from Finger the Heavens asked in confusion, "Leader Big Bear, didn't you say that the advanced potions on the market were made by Xuanjin? How could they be so poor?" "I don't know. Could it be that they moved everything away in advance?" Big Bear frowned and mumbled. At the same time, a cold feeling flashed through his heart. Chapter 701. In Rebirth's system settings, once a war was declared, the warehouses of both guilds would be locked. Therefore, it was impossible for the Quanjun sect to move everything away after Sword in the Heavens had declared war on them. But now, the Quanjun sect's encampment was empty. It was obvious that they had moved everything away before the declaration of war. No matter how small the encampment was, it was still a large territory. Not to mention the fact that the Quanjun sect was overflowing with wealth. Even if the Quanjun sect was poor, it was impossible for them to be so poor that they didn't even have tables and chairs. If that was the case, didn't it mean that Xuanjin had predicted that Finger the Heavens would attack their guild encampment from the start? Since they had predicted that Finger the Heavens would do this, they still dared to fight it out with Finger the Heavens. It was obvious that everything was under their control. Could it be a trap? Thinking of this, cold sweat trickled down Big Brother Bear and the rest's foreheads. No matter how bold Xuanjin's people were, they could not help but feel worried after receiving the news that their encampment had been destroyed. At that moment, Xuanjin's people were looking at Wuji. The table was silent, and everyone's expression was incomparably gloomy. "Wuji, our guild encampment is really gone." The silence lasted for more than 10 seconds before Wang Yu broke the silence. "Yes, I also received the news," Wuji said calmly. "We just threw our encampment out like that. Why not fight it out?" Baosan asked coldly. At the end of the day, no one knew what Wuji was thinking. Throwing their guild encampment out for no reason really annoyed everyone. At the start, everyone still had a glimmer of hope for Wuji. They thought that Wuji would lead their group to attack Finger the Heavens encampment and fight to the death. Who knew that Wuji would really give up their encampment just like that? Even Bao San's tone was filled with anger. Wuji smiled and said, "Fight it out? Can we win if we fight it out? Even if we were to attack Finger the Heavens base, don't forget that Finger the Heavens doesn't lack money. We definitely won't be able to break through the base's defenses. What's the point of wasting our strength?" "But I can't swallow this," Bao Sanyao said angrily. "Don't be depressed." As Wuji spoke, he took out a bunch of money bags and threw them in front of everyone one by one. "Come, take it all." Wuji grabbed a bag of money and stuffed it into Bao San's hand. Everyone could tell at a glance that these were all big bags of money worth 10,000 gold each. "Are you going to return to Gaolao village?" Chun Xiang asked in surprise when he saw Wuji take out so much money to give to everyone. "What nonsense are you talking about? These are the revenge funds contributed by the girls. They've taken out all their savings." Wuji said, 10,000 gold per person. "Keep it well. Don't be greedy. The rest of the money has to be collected." Revenge funds? When everyone heard the word revenge, the cold atmosphere immediately eased up. "Then what should we do next?" To place one's pride asked impatiently. "Don't tell me we're going to use money to smash them to death. Smash Finger the Heavens with money? How dare you even think about that?" Everyone looked at to place one's pride with disdain. Just then, a voice from the main city rang out above everyone. Wuji said, sword pointing heavens, "How shameless of you to bully us with numbers. Today, I represent everyone in the Quanjun sect to solemnly tell sword pointing heavens that our two sects are irreconcilable enemies." F*CK, Wuji, are you going to use your megaphone? That's too childish. Seeing Wuji's voice, everyone broke out in a cold sweat. What the heck? Using megaphone to compete for wealth wasn't something a child would do. It was hard to imagine that this was Wuji's last resort. Was he provoked? Wuji's megaphone was citywide, so Finger the Heavens could naturally hear it. Seeing Wuji's megaphone, everyone laughed. F***CK. Irreconcilable enemies? Who are you trying to scare? That's right. The guild base is gone, and he's still bragging. I think he's at his wit's end. He can only rely on megaphone to make his presence known. We're not afraid of him, even if he's using megaphone. Come, brothers, let's go. Captain Don't Shoot was indeed a tycoon. With a wave of his hand, gold coins were scattered. Finger the Heavens began to spam megaphone on everyone's screen. People who had been poor for a long time suddenly became arrogant. After the Finger the Heavens players destroyed Chuanjin's base, they really thought that they were invincible. They began to become arrogant, and their arrogance was like a monstrous wave. They almost blew up Yu Huiqing's main city channel. The game company was probably laughing so hard that their teeth were about to fall out. Looking at this group of mischievous people, Blood Red was conflicted. F***CK, it can't be. What are those people from Chuanjin doing? They're admitting defeat just like that? To be honest, looking at Captain Don't Shoot's smug expression, Blood Red's heart actually leaned towards Chuanjin. Blood Rain said blankly, I don't know what these guys are doing either. So many people had turned into lunatics. Blood Rain was also a little confused. Those guys definitely aren't just shouting slogans, right? Sure enough, just as Blood Rain finished speaking, an even larger server announcement suppressed all of Finger the Heavens shouts. Iron Ox, buying the coordinates of all Finger the Heavens players. 1 silver coin for each coordinate, no limit. Anyone with coordinates can contact the following: Wuji, Iron Ox, Chun Xiong. Everyone in Chuanjin. Cash transaction, valid long-term. Once Wang Yu's message was sent, Finger the Heavens' main city megaphone also gradually quieted down. Buying coordinates. F***CK. Blood Rain couldn't help but shout excitedly after seeing the message. Blood Red stared at Blood Rain in shock. Boss, don't be like this. Captain and the others are watching. Blood Red and Blood Rain had played together for so many years and knew that Blood Rain was a calm and collected person. This was the first time Blood Red had seen Blood Rain like this. That's right, buying coordinates. This was Chuanjin's last resort. When two guilds fought, spending money to hire people had been around since ancient times. Any veteran player would understand this. However, Finger the Heavens had just wiped out Chuanjin and was in the limelight. If Chuanjin spent money to hire people to kill Finger the Heavens players, the majority of Yu Huiqing's players would have to think twice. After all, no one wanted to offend such a large guild. Buying coordinates was different. They only needed information. Only Chuanjin knew who was selling Finger the Heavens. Moreover, Chuanjin's price was very high. 1 silver coin for each piece of information. Money came quickly and safely. No one would let go of this opportunity. As for the problem of selling fake coordinates, Chuanjin's players weren't worried. Rebirth didn't have alt accounts. Chuanjin's group was infamous. They even dared to openly hunt down Finger the Heavens players. It wasn't worth it to offend such a fierce person for a silver coin. When the Finger the Heavens players saw Wang Yu's message, all the blood drained from their faces. Their previous arrogance was replaced with fear. Chapter 702. Others might not know how powerful Chuanjin was, but the players of Finger Heaven had experienced it firsthand. Chuanjin appeared and disappeared unpredictably. They did not even need to use a second move to kill. Even without buying coordinates, they could ambush and ambush others. Once they bought the coordinates, it would be disastrous. Countless surveillance cameras would sell their coordinates as soon as they stepped onto the streets. The feeling of being watched, even when they took a piss, was absolutely terrifying. What was even more terrifying was that everyone could clearly see that the sender of this message was Iron Ox. Everyone in Yu Huiqing knew who Iron Ox was. He had been active on the front page of Yu Huiqing's forum ever since the game's server opened. He was an existence that could single-handedly challenge an entire guild. Of course, saying that he could defeat 10,000 people was an exaggeration. Even if the rumors were 100 times more exaggerated, he could still kill 100 people. Others might not believe that Wang Yu could single-handedly defeat 100 people, but the players of Finger Heaven definitely believed it. This was because just half an hour ago, Wang Yu had killed more than 10 people under the siege of nearly 300 people and left. It was hard to imagine the feeling of being asked for coordinates by such a person. If anyone's coordinates were obtained by him, they would definitely die. If everyone were together now, they might feel more at ease. However, after destroying the Quan Jin sect's encampment, the players from Point Sword in the Heavens didn't expect that the Quan Jin sect would buy the coordinates to kill them. Therefore, they went on their own activities and didn't gather together. At this time, the players of Finger Heaven and Yu Huicheng felt a chill down their spine when they saw Wang Yu's message. "Boss, what should we do?" The players of Finger Heaven did not know what to do. They all sent messages to the guild. They were all veteran players, and this was the first time they had ever felt this way despite having several thousand companions. This was especially true after they had annihilated the guild residents of these players not too long ago. At this moment, everyone felt a deep sense of regret. The leader, Don't Shoot, was also afraid. However, as the backbone of the team, the leader could not say anything disheartening. He could only say angrily, "What are you afraid of? There are so many of us. How can we be afraid of them?" The captain's words were reasonable. Xuanjin didn't dare to attack 4,000 players head-on. However, in this kind of situation, even if 500 players gathered together, they wouldn't feel safe. Not to mention, everyone was already scattered. None of them were children. Of course, they understood this, so the captain's words were useless. At this moment, Xiongda said, "I don't believe that with so many of us, we can't defeat a dozen people." "I think you should believe it," the captain said. "You weren't there just now, so you didn't see how despicable those people from Xuanjin are." Big Bear was about to retort when Xuanjin's loudspeaker flashed again. Famous Sword Snow and Yu Huicheng were two players who pointed sword in the heavens. Big Bear was shocked when he saw the loudspeaker. Big Bear did not expect the coordinates to be sold so quickly. After Famous Blade reported Snow's coordinates, Finger Heaven's guild channel immediately displayed the news that a player had been killed. The guild channel of Finger Sword in the Sky was in an uproar again. Setting Sun Forest for Finger Heaven players. The loudspeaker sounded again. Finger Sky's guild channel repeated 4 times. For people had died. Setting Sun Plateau. 3. Setting Sun Lakeside. Team 1. In the main city channel, the loudspeaker sounded again and again. The Finger Sky's guild channel kept flashing. Xuanjin's coordinate loudspeaker was like a death knell. Every time it sounded, a player would be mercilessly killed. The Finger Sky players went from chaos to panic, and from panic to fear. They were afraid that the next coordinate would be them, and for a moment, everyone was in danger. The Finger Sky's guild channel was deathly silent. Everyone watched indifferently as their companions died one after another, not knowing what to do. Psychological attack is the best. What a scary group of people. As the saying goes, the onlooker sees the game more clearly than the onlooker. From the moment Big Bear decided to attack Xuanjin's base, Blood Rain treated himself as an outsider. Naturally, he was more clear-headed now. When Blood Rain saw Xuanjin turn Finger Sky into this state, he could not help but sigh inwardly. From the beginning of the ambush and sneak attack, Xuanjin constantly displayed their strengths, making everyone in Finger Sky realize that they were a group of people who were very good at sneak attacks. Then, when Finger Sky broke through Xuanjin's base and was in high spirits, Wang Yu's act of buying coordinates was like a bucket of cold water, directly dousing the Finger Sky players' arrogance. In the end, as if urging them to die, he continuously sent out the coordinates of their deaths in the main city channel, gradually increasing the fear of the Finger Sky players. Just like that, Xuanjin led Finger Sky's players to the edge of fear step by step. How sinister did they have to be to think of such a frightening psychological trap? Even someone as calm and collected as Blood Rain broke out in a cold sweat after understanding Xuanjin's intentions. At this moment, all the Finger Sky players were being pressured from all sides until they finally collapsed. Hurry up and return to the city. Don't stay outside the city anymore. Xuanjin's people are starting to hunt us down. Going back to the city is useless. There are more spies. We have to go to the safe zone. Oh my God, Xuanjin is here. One person's fear was not considered fear. When everyone's fear was linked together, it was like the end of the world. In addition to Chuanjin's continuous death notices and kill notifications in the public channel, the Finger Sky players were in a complete mess. The channel was filled with wails. "Leader, don't shoot," and "Big Bear, wait for us. We can't control the situation anymore. Don't panic, I have a plan." Seeing that his subordinates were on the verge of collapse, Big Bear finally could not sit still. He immediately muted the guild channel and used his authority as the guild leader to shout loudly in the channel. To be honest, Big Brother Bear's shout was quite effective. The players from Finger Heavens shuddered, and their fear was greatly reduced. They gradually calmed down. "Everyone, don't panic. Let's gather at Sunset Valley. I have a way to kill Chuanjin's people," Big Bear said in the channel. "Leader, don't shoot," and the others who stayed behind to loot Chuanjin's encampment heard Big Bear's words and looked at him. "Big Bear, what plan do you have?" "Leader, don't shoot," asked in confusion. "Hee, didn't he want the coordinates? Just give him your coordinates." Big Bear laughed. "Leader, don't shoot," was furious. "F***, you're crazy. Listen to me," Big Bear explained. "Our people will be lying in ambush here. I guarantee that no matter how many of them come, they will all die. This will work. That iron ox is not to be trifled with." Leader, don't shoot was still a little uncertain. Chapter 703. Everyone, not everyone. It seemed like Big Bear wasn't very confident. Everyone's fear came from the unknown. As they did not know how to deal with these powerful killers, the players of Finger the Heavens were afraid. Big Bear's idea undoubtedly gave the players of Finger the Heavens some courage, allowing them to break free from their fear. After receiving Big Bear's message, the Finger Sky players felt as if they had found a life-saving straw. They all hurried towards Sunset Canyon. Not long after, other than the players who were killed and those who were killed along the way, the Finger Sky players returned to Sunset Canyon. At the same time, the people from Chuanjin also received many coordinates. Wuji looked at the coordinates and said with some surprise, These guys thought of a way to deal with it so quickly. They aren't too stupid." "Then do we still kill them?" Wang Yu asked. Wuji smiled and said, "If all of them surround and attack you, are you afraid?" "Afraid?" Wang Yu said. "Are you kidding me? It's not like I haven't seen people 10 times more than them." Back then, Wang Yu could escape when surrounded by tens of thousands of people. Now, Wang Yu Qinggong, even if he couldn't beat them, he could still escape. "Yes," Wu Ji said, "these fellows want to beat us at our own game and ambush us. We won't be able to interfere in the upcoming chase. If you don't have any problems, then go. If you have any problems, then we'll ambush them when their morale is low." The Art of War said, "The first beat of the drum, the second beat, the third beat." Although it was true that Big Bear had set up an ambush, if Chuanjin didn't take the bait, the Finger Sky players' willpower would quickly be exhausted. "No problem, we don't have to wait," Wang Yu said confidently. "All right, everyone else, come back." Wu Ji gave the order to retreat in the channel. At this time, another coordinate was sent to Chuanjin. Coordinates, Sunset Canyon. Leader, don't shoot. Not only were there coordinates, but there was also a name. Wu Ji sent the coordinates to Wang Yu. Wang Yu copied and pasted it, then sent it through the main city loudspeaker. He took the bait. Big Bear, wait for me, and the players who were lying in ambush at Setting Sun Valley were all excited when they saw the coordinates sent by Wang Yu. The captain, don't shoot, was still fuming. "Big Bear, you bastard! How dare you use me as bait?" The bear laughed and said, Hee, if you weren't the bait, why would they come? You only found these few people to follow me. What if they kill me?" The captain asked. Xiong de Dao, placing so many people to protect the bait, the other party will be afraid. F***ck. I'm afraid if we don't set up enough. The leader was about to cry. All right. Heaven, Xiao Xiong, you guys come over and protect the party leader. Don't Shoot commanded a few melee players to form a circle around Don't Shoot. Not far away, Bloodrain looked at Big Bear and the team leader, two people messing around, and could not help secretly sneering as he said, "Fools, acting too much. Even a blind person can see that this is a trap. You still want to trick the people from Chuanjin?" To be able to scheme and scheme to this extent, the people from Xuanzhen had already been labeled as dangerous in Bloodrain's heart. If they were really tricked by Big Bear's childish idea, that would be unexpected. However, just as Bloodrain was waiting to see Big Bear busy himself, he suddenly heard a voice coming from above. Didn't you say there was only one person? Why are there so many? Which one of you is the captain? Don't shoot. Bloodrain looked towards the source of the voice and saw a tall and sturdy grandmaster of combat, standing more than 10 meters high, looking down from above. The professional players were all of higher quality. When they heard Wang Yu's words, all of their gazes were on Wang Yu. Only Big Bear could not help but look at the captain. Don't shoot. Wang Yu also had a lot of careful thoughts. When he saw so many people surrounding Don't Shoot, he immediately guessed who the target was, so he subconsciously looked at the captain. Don't shoot. Don't Shoot met Wang Yu's gaze, and his whole body trembled. He hurriedly pointed at Big Bear and said, He is. Is that so? Wang Yu smiled slightly. He jumped up and went straight for Don't Shoot. Seeing Wang Yu jump down, the corner of Big Bear's mouth curled up, and he sneered, Come at me. At the same time, the archers and mages in Sunset Valley all came out and aimed their magic arrows at Wang Yu. For a moment, the densely packed magic arrows were all shot at Wang Yu. This is your ambush? When Ass Sword saw that these arrows and magic were all shot at Wang Yu, his eyes widened. What's wrong? Is there something wrong with you? This arrogant idiot. Xiaoxiang Wenjian almost cursed it out loud when he heard this. Big Bear's simple and crude ambush circle was fine for normal players, but against experts, it was basically useless. As long as the target had enough awareness, these kinds of shots that were aimed at the target were completely useless. There were so many people, and he was still playing with shots? Was there something wrong with his brain? He had wasted so many resources and such a good opportunity for an ambush. Wang Yu seemed to have already known that there would be an ambush. When he saw the arrows and magic flying towards him, his feet flashed, and he activated Eagle Stamp. With Eagle Stamp, Wang Yu's falling speed suddenly increased. The sky full of arrows flew over Wang Yu's head, but they all missed. Damn, he actually dodged it. Seeing Wang Yu easily pass through the net of fire, Big Bear's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Hey, who do you think he is? Flowing time, protect the captain. Xiaoxiang asked Swordside in despair and gave the order to defend. Captain, don't shoot. The shield bearer beside him, Time of Life, received the order and raised his shield, blocking Captain, don't shoot. Ass Sword and the others also finished preparing their whirlwind slash. As long as Wang Yu landed, they would definitely be able to take him out in one fell swoop. Ask Sword and the others' movements fell into Wang Yu's eyes. Wang Yu had fought with Ask Sword and Fist of the Heavens before, so he knew that they were quite strong. Ask Sword's dual swords and Fist of the Heavens control had left a deep impression on Wang Yu. Seeing Wang Yu descend, Xiaoxiang's sword and the others were just about to attack when they heard Wang Yu's voice. Wang Yu abruptly leaned forward and slammed a palm in a Time of Age's shield. Immediately after, Wang Yu used a roll skill, rolling a long Time of Age's shield to the back of Time of Age and the party leader. Seeing this, Fist of the Heavens slapped the talisman in his hand onto the ground. A rising formation appeared beneath Don't Shoot's feet. At the same time, he shouted, Rising Formation, activate. The rising formation had a levitation effect. Even though Wang Yu had dodged Ask Sword's attack, if he were to be struck by it, Ask Sword and the others would be able to turn around and attack him. Chapter 704. Xiaoxiang's sword and the others were all top-tier experts. When they saw Wang Yu roll backward in midair, they subconsciously turned around and surrounded Wang Yu. At the same time, Wang Yu stabbed his staff into the ground and spun around it. At the same time, he lashed out with both legs, accurately kicking at Xiaoxiang's sword and the others. Since Xiaoxiang's sword and the others had arrived just in time, Wang Yu's feet, which had originally been unable to use as leverage, were now firmly planted on the ground. Using the momentum of each kick, he rose higher. After a full circle, Wang Yu's figure rose to more than 2 meters, just barely dodging Fist of the Heavens' rising formation. Crap! He actually dodged that. When Fist of the Heavens saw that Wang Yu was able to escape death in such a situation, he couldn't help but cry out in excitement. Fist of the Heavens had only used rising formation when he saw Wang Yu tumble off his shield. Time-flowing time shield was only 2 meters in the air. At this height, even if he were free fall, he would only last for 1 second. Rising formation also had a cooldown of 1 second. Players couldn't move freely in the air. In other words, Wang Yu had no time to dodge. He could only close his eyes and wait for his death. However, in less than a second, Wang Yu had completed the action of switching weapons and standing still in the air. She then stepped on the enemies that were running toward her and rose into the air, perfectly dodging the rising formation. It was as if everything had been rehearsed. What kind of reflexes and combat instincts were this? Fist of the Heavens was a hothead who dared to offend an expert like Bloodrain. He was definitely a prideful person who refused to submit to anyone. In his heart, Wang Yu had become an unsurpassable target. Xiaoxiang and the other two, who were used as stepping stones, were very surprised to see Wang Yu's extreme movements. However, experts were experts after all. No matter how surprised they were, their hands didn't stop moving. The 3 of them waved their swords and slashed at Wang Yu, who was in midair. When Wang Yu saw the 3 of them attacking him, he grabbed the long rod with both hands and exerted force. His figure rose once again, and, at the same time, he switched his weapon. The long rod turned back into a glove. Then he stepped on the air and turned around. He activated Burst Fist and rushed toward Don't Shoot. Xiaoxiang's sword cried out, "Boss, it's Voodoo Magic Vine." The reason why Wang Yu attacked Captain Don't Shoot first wasn't just because the target was Captain Don't Shoot, but because Captain Don't Shoot was also a warlock. Wang Yu had been in Xuanzhen for a long time. Under the influence of Chun Xiang, Wang Yu was quite wary of the warlock class. The warlock class was cunning and cunning. It was the perfect counter to the nimble grandmaster of combat. Seeing Wang Yu instruct the party leader not to shoot, Xiaoxiang's sword rain immediately gave the party leader an order not to shoot. This caused Wang Yu to feel slightly shocked. Voodoo Magic Vine was a defensive skill of the warlock class. The user could summon vines to wrap around the user, preventing them from taking damage for 2 seconds. At the same time, attacking the target with the vines would cause the user to receive shock damage and a festering effect. Wang Yu wasn't afraid of the shock damage, but the festering effect was a very disgusting poison control. Not only did the user slow down by 60%, but they also lost health every second. In this situation, if he was hit by the festering effect, it would be a huge headache. However, Wang Yu and Xiaoxiang's sword were probably thinking too much. Since the warlock class mostly had non-directional skills, and all skills had prerequisites, the player's level was very high. Normal people couldn't play this class at all. Although there were many warlocks in Rebirth, there were no more than 3 in the entire game who could play the warlock to Chun Xiang's level. Don't Shoot saw Wang Yu flying towards him and was scared out of his wits. He had long since forgotten the name of the skill. Hearing Xiaoxiang's sword's words, his face was full of question marks. At this moment, Time of Time suddenly turned around and his shield landed in front of Don't Shoot. Good block, Wang Yu praised in his heart. He canceled the collapsing fist skill and slapped down with both of his arms. The chi wave flew out of his hands. Then, he used the recoil of the chi wave to perform a backflip and landed on the ground. Don't Shoot, who had dodged a bullet, was still puzzled. Q's sword. What did you say it hurt? It's nothing. Xiaoxiang's sword was about to cry. It seemed that he couldn't count on a useless teammate. He had to do it himself. When Time of Time saw Wang Yu land on the ground, he hurriedly shouted at Xiaoxiang's sword. Sword, use Whirlwind Slash. Xiaoxiang's sword and the other 2 had already seen Wang Yu land on their side. Before Time of Time could finish speaking, the 3 of them used Whirlwind Slash and looked at Wang Yu. Wang Yu pressed his 4 limbs against the ground and pushed forward. Instead of retreating, he charged towards the 3 of them while sticking close to the ground. The weakness of Whirlwind Slash was in the lower half of the body. Wang Yu extended his staff forward and blocked one of the warriors, forcefully interrupting his Whirlwind Slash. When Wang Yu's staff locked onto the warrior's legs, the immense force caused Wang Yu to turn around. Wang Yu crossed her legs and used lightning scissors to attack the back of the other warrior's knees. Under the effect of Thunder Stamp, the warrior was knocked to the ground. Wang used lightning scissors when Xiaoxiang's sword saw his two companions' whirlwind slashes being interrupted. He hurriedly canceled the skill. His two swords whistled through the air as they slashed towards Wang Yu. Wang Yu raised his staff and blocked Xiaoxiang's sword's left hand. At the same time, Xiaoxiang's sword's right hand slashed down. Wang Yu took advantage of the situation and leaned his body to the side. His staff stood upright on the ground and dodged the attack. Xiaoxiang's sword brandished his two swords, turned around, and slashed horizontally with extreme speed. Chain Slash. It was a level 35 dual-wielding warrior skill. Due to its dual-wielding nature, it could instantly launch multiple horizontal slashes at a target. Warrior skills had high priority, let alone a top-tier warrior like Xiaoxiang's sword. Do, do, do. The sound of the great sword hitting the staff rang out. Xiaoxiang's two swords slashed heavily onto Wang Yu's staff. Wang Yu was sent flying. I finally hit him. After sending Wang Yu flying, Xiaoxiang's sword couldn't help but wipe the sweat off his forehead and let out a sigh. Even though he had fought a few rounds with Wang Yu, Xiaoxiang's sword had already felt what it meant to be difficult. This Grandmaster of Combat's battle skill was so high that it was unheard of. Strange attack methods, superb dodging techniques, and terrifying reflexes. If there was even the slightest mistake, he would be able to dodge the attack. A group of professional-level players, including a sneak attack and an ambush, and this was only the first hit. Just thinking about it made his hair stand on end. At this time, Xiaoxiang's sword finally understood why Blood Rain chose to let Point at the Heaven Sword spend money. Now that he thought about it, if it were him, he would definitely have made the same choice as Blood Rain. While Wang Yu and Xiaoxiang's sword were fighting, the assassins who were lying in ambush had already rushed onto the battlefield. They activated swift movement and pounced on Wang Yu. The two warriors who were with Xiaoxiang's sword saw that Wang Yu had been sent flying by Xiaoxiang's sword. Just as they were about to rush over to finish him off, they saw Wang Yu roll on the ground and sweep his staff across the ground. At the same time, there was a circle of assassins lying on the ground around Wang Yu. Chapter 705. System Notification. Your weapon has been damaged. Wang Yu had brought this weapon from the novice village. From the very beginning, he had been using it to tank bosses and players. He had never repaired it even once. Even a godly weapon couldn't handle it. The poor weapon finally couldn't stand its master, who didn't know how to take care of itself, and chose to die. F***CK, your grandpa. Wang Yu couldn't help but curse when he saw the system notification. Why did it have to break now? The strength of Wang Yu's weapon wasn't just its high attack power. To Wang Yu, the most practical thing was that it could change into different forms and use different methods to deal with enemies. It could be said that it was always successful. At this moment, the weapon had been broken in two. The long rod had been reduced to two short rods. Wang Yu's heart ached. Good thing it wasn't damaged in the glove form. Wang Yu didn't forget to comfort himself. With a clap of his left hand, Wang Yu activated Cloud Grasp and grabbed the other half of the martial scholar Sai in his hand. Sai, I don't know if it could be repaired. Looking at the 2-meter-long rods, Wang Yu sighed. His weapon is broken. This is a good opportunity. Everyone attack him. At that time, Big Bear, who was watching from the side, saw that Wang Yu's weapon was broken. He shouted an order in the guild channel. The assassins that Wang Yu had swept to the ground got up and rushed at Wang Yu again. Seeing a group of people rushing at him, Wang Yu smiled. He grabbed the broken weapon with both hands and faced them head-on. The two assassins running at the front were Bloodthorn and Bloodwolf. Bloodwolf was slightly faster. He rushed in front of Wang Yu and stabbed his dagger at Wang Yu's heart. Seeing Shuel Lang stabbing at him, Wang Yu did not panic. He swung the short stick in his left hand and hit the Like acupoint on Shuel Lang's wrist. After Shuel Lang's wrist was hit, he could not help but tremble, and the dagger fell to the ground. F***CK. My dagger. For online players, equipment was more important than life. Blood Wolf's dagger was also an exquisite dagger. Naturally, he wouldn't just throw it away, so he quickly bent down to pick it up. Wang Yu bent his knee and lifted it up. He then kneed Blood Wolf right in the face. Blood Wolf instantly turned into a white light. Before he died, Blood Wolf didn't forget to send a message to Bloodthorn. Remember to pick up my dagger. Bloodthorn received the message and immediately went into stealth to grab the dagger. As a result, just as it reached Wang Yu's feet, Wang Yu stomped on its head and crushed it. It then followed Blood Wolf. The brilliance of the exquisite dagger was very dazzling. When the other assassins saw Blood Wolf's dagger on the ground, they drooled. At most, they would lose some EXP if they died, but an exquisite dagger was something that could only be found by chance. In front of the dagger, the assassins all lost their reason. They even forgot what they were here to do. One by one, they recklessly rushed towards the dagger. Wang Yu held two short rods in his hands. He took a step forward and protected the dagger. The two rods danced, stabbing, poking, and smashing, blocking the assassins a meter away. Get rid of him first. No one knew who shouted, but the assassins all looked at Wang Yu. The next moment, they all rushed at Wang Yu like a swarm of bees. Isn't it good to be alive? Wang Yu sighed. He lightly jumped back and activated Flaming Tornado Kick. Flaming Tornado Kick was one of the few AoE skills of Grandmasters of Combat. Not only did it have high priority, but it also had an absorption effect. Assassins with agility had never had high priority. When Wang Yu's Flaming Tornado Kick spun, all the assassins within a 500-meter radius were sucked to Wang Yu's side. Bang! 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 As Wang Yu spun, all the assassins that were sucked to Wang Yu's side were engulfed in flames. All of the assassins were armed with exquisite daggers, so they naturally fought to be the first. One could imagine how densely packed their positions were. Wang Yu's whirlwind kick instantly wiped out almost half of the assassins. Pata! Wang Yu landed lightly on the ground. He used the tip of his foot to pick up the dagger and threw it into his backpack. When the remaining assassins saw how fierce Wang Yu was, they were all scared silly. They didn't dare to take another step forward. After all, they didn't even have their daggers. Rushing forward now would be suicide. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Although the assassins were repelled, before Wang Yu could even catch his breath, the arrow magic of sword points to the sky flew over. Just now, Wang Yu had been constantly moving around. The ranged players couldn't aim at him at all, so they didn't attack. However, when Wang Yu used Flaming Tornado Kick, he paused in the air for a few seconds, giving the ranged players a chance to aim. As mentioned before, in a situation like this where there was an absolute advantage in numbers, aiming and attacking was useless against experts. Wang Yu lowered his head and dove forward. As he rolled, he activated Flash and escaped from the ranged players. Once again, he appeared near Don't Shoot. Protect the Captain. The runes on Heaven's fist slapped onto his weapon, and the sky-falling hammer leaped high into the air. Wang Yu didn't even look at it. He turned around and used Thunder Stomp, sending the Heaven's fist flying. At the same time, Bladask arrived, and he swung down with Collapsing Mountain. Wang Yu dodged to the side and swung the short staff in his right hand, hitting Bladask's inner thigh. Bladask lost his balance in midair and fell to the ground. After knocking down Bladask, Wang Yu turned around and charged at Don't Shoot. Hurry up and shoot. Bladask saw this and got up, chasing while shouting in the guild channel. He runs too fast, we can't aim accurately. The ranged players said helplessly. In my ass. Are you afraid of accidentally hitting him in the game? Bladask raged, shoot at random. Oh. The archers were stunned and hurriedly fired at the battlefield. It could be said that Finger in the Heavens players were far weaker than Blood Alliance. This type of widespread arrow formation was hard to coordinate without training. Finger in the Heavens players relied on their numbers to shoot randomly, but the effect was only slightly better than the previous shots. When Wang Yu saw the arrows flying towards him, he suddenly retreated. He retreated to the side of Bladask and the other three who were chasing him. He sheathed his short staff at his waist, bent down, and grabbed the belts of two warriors, pushing them towards Bladask and Fist of Heaven. F***CK. Xiaoxiang's sword and Fist of Heaven screamed, as they were turned into porcupines by the endless arrows. Wang Yu, who had dodged the arrows from behind the four players, rolled on the ground until she reached Time of Time's feet. Time of Heaven used Shield Bash on Wang Yu without hesitation. Wang Yu rolled forward, dodging Time of Heaven's Shield Bash. He rolled behind Time of Heaven, who was behind Don't Shoot. Almost at the same time, spells rained down from the sky. Wang Yu got up, grabbed Time of Heaven's shoulder, and kicked Time of Heaven's ankle. Time of Heaven's body swayed, and he fell backwards onto Wang Yu's body. His shield covered the two like a coffin. Chapter 706. Taking the enemy's general's head from an army of 10,000 as easily as taking something out of one's pocket was something that only existed in novels. When an ordinary person heard this phrase, they would only think that it was an exaggerated description and would only smile at it. However, seeing Wang Yu single-handedly break through the guard squad and pass through the encirclement of 1,000 people, the visual impact was absolutely indescribable. Seeing Wang Yu close at hand, Don't Shoot completely panicked. He raised his hands and hurriedly shouted, "Hero, let's talk, whoosh!" While Don't Shoot was speaking, blood rain concentrated in the distance and consecutively knocked an arrow. 3 arrows flew towards Wang Yu at an extremely fast speed. Blood rain was worthy of being a top-notch archer. These 3 arrows flew horizontally, sealing off all of Wang Yu's dodging range. Seeing that Wang Yu was about to be hit, Wang Yu directly pulled out a short stick from his waist with his left hand and knocked away the 2 arrows on the left and right. At the same time, his right hand grabbed the arrow in the middle. Without waiting for Don't Shoot to react, Wang Yu turned around and grabbed the arrow blood rain shot, fiercely piercing Don't Shoot's throat. Warlocks didn't add any stat points, so their defense was pitifully low. Don't Shoot wasn't like Brother Spring, who added points to physique. How could he withstand Wang Yu's attack? He was instantly killed. This really is a monster. Seeing this scene, Blood Rain was already shocked speechless. Blood Rain's triple shot wasn't a function of the system, but a genuine skill. Archery was known as the triple talent arrow. The shooting frequency and technique were all meticulously researched. The triple shot had no blind spots. This was Blood Rain's specialty, and he had never failed before. Blood Rain knew that Wang Yu was powerful, so he chose to ambush Wang Yu when his mind was at its most relaxed. Who knew that even so, it would still be casually blocked by Wang Yu. After finishing off the party leader, just as Wang Yu was about to kill off Big Bear Wait for Me, the surrounding ranged classes fired their attacks at him once more. With his previous experience, this time, sword points to the heavens no longer fired in a single shot. Instead, it covered the entire area. Without any obstructions, Wang Yu knew that he couldn't avoid it. He pulled on Wang's neck and pulled out a red ribbon. Then he activated his Qin Gong and rushed toward the Chuanjin encampment at an extremely fast speed. Wave after wave of arrows and spells rained down on Wang Yu's body. Wang Yu was first hit by the Qi barrier, then his HP bar was emptied. In a few seconds, Wang Yu rushed to the edge of the encirclement and tore an opening. Then, he leaped into the air and flew up the cliff. Then, he climbed straight up and escaped from the encirclement of thousands of people. At the bottom of the cliff, in the setting sun valley, the players who watched Wang Yu fly to the sky were silent. At this moment, their hearts were dead. Only Chao Bing could understand the feelings of thousands of people surrounding a single person, and his blood stained his conqueror's robe and armor. Seeing that the place where their party leader had been standing was now empty, all the sword points to the heavens players realized that they had offended someone they shouldn't have. At this moment, another loudspeaker sounded in the sky. Iron Ox, I was in a hurry just now and forgot something. AB*TCH asked me to bring you a message. As long as Chuanjin exists, sword points to the heavens won't be your own. Hearing Wang Yu's words, Blood Rain was stunned for a moment. He sighed and said, "It's over." From a moment Chuanjin started their counterattack, the players of Sword Points to the Heavens were like birds startled by the mere twang of a bow. They felt like every bush and tree was an enemy. Whether it was mentally, they were all under heavy pressure. In the beginning, everyone thought that they would be safe when thousands of people gathered together. However, Wang Yi used his actions to tell everyone in Sword Points to the Heavens that even if there were thousands of them gathered together, killing them would be child's play. As a result, the players of Sword Points to the Heavens lost their last hope, safety. From now on, only the safe zone would be the safest. It was true that Sword Points to the Heavens had destroyed Xuanzhen's guild encampment, but their final range of activity was only the size of a guild encampment. No one was a fool. Naturally, they could understand the seriousness of the situation. At that time, Sword Points to the Heavens would really be in chaos. As expected, under Wang Yu's threat, the psychological defense of the players of Sword Points to the Heavens finally collapsed. What do we do? Are they going to chase us all over the world? No way. Things have already reached this point. Who would dare to run all over the world? Some players with a good mentality did not forget to tease themselves. Just when everyone was at a loss, a message suddenly flashed in the guild channel. Player, hit the tiger tonight, has left Sword Points to the Heavens. Seeing this message, everyone stopped whining. Then, the guild channel of Sword Points to the Heavens was like a river bursting through a dam. People continuously left the guild. After all, it was better for them to die than for themselves. The guild could be added again, but the game could not be played. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. Player I Live 345 has left Sword Points to the Heavens. Player Bigly has left Sword Points to the Heavens. Player Zhou Shutong has left. Looking at the series of exit notifications in the guild channel, Big Bear and the others' faces turned pale, and they sat on the ground. Ow, how did this happen? How did things develop to this point? Big Bear and the others still did not understand. How did a big guild with thousands of people get overturned by a small group of a dozen or so people? Sigh. Blood Rain shook his head and sighed. If you had listened to me earlier, this wouldn't have happened. Wang Yu's megaphone was announced to the entire city. When Yu Huiqing's audience saw this announcement, they all became spirited. F***CK. Is Guru Iron Ox going to point his sword at the heavens? What do you mean by point his sword at the heavens? Leader, don't shoot. We're already at the revival point. Really? I saw it with my own eyes. Guru Iron Ox slaughtered him while surrounded by thousands of people. You're bragging, and you even saw it with your own eyes. Which guild are you from? This? Sigh, it's a long story. That person looked at his empty chest, and his face was full of joy. Good things don't go out, but bad things travel 1,000 miles. Leader, don't shoot at the revival point not long after they entered. Such rumors spread throughout the city. Most of the content was Guru Iron Ox is as mighty as ever, single-handedly slaughtering thousands of people with sword points to the heavens. He shouted that those who offend our Xuanzhen will be killed no matter how far away, and that the main culprit, leader, don't shoot and kill him on the spot. F***CK. Is he really that Chinibyu? Wang Yu held 2 short sticks in his hands. When he heard these rumors in front of the blacksmith shop, his face turned red. Someone beside him said, Kid, you're new, right? You actually don't know how powerful Guru Iron Ox is. To think that you play Grandmaster of Combat. Chapter 707. It wasn't just the spectators in Afterglow City. When Blood Red War Flag heard that the Quanjin sect's encampment had been breached by sword points to the heavens, they were already on the verge of despair. After hearing this news, they were so excited that they burst into tears and immediately entered the game. How is it? It's exciting, right? Blood Red War Flag received Wuji's message as soon as they went online. You know about it? Blood Red War Flag was stunned. Of course. Wuji smiled. Do you think I wouldn't be able to guess your little tricks? But remember, Xuanzhen has done many things, but we've never cheated our friends. Blood Red War Flag was speechless. What should we do? Don't Shoot was like a frightened rabbit, terrified and helpless. Less than 30 minutes after Point Finger the Heavens had started, almost a quarter of the players had left. Currently, there were only 1,000 players left in the massive guild alliance. Although there were not as many players who had left as there were at the start of the game, most of the players who remained were veterans who had been together since the start of the game. Of course, it wasn't that these veteran players didn't want to leave the guild. They had joined the guild from the very beginning, so their guild contribution was undoubtedly very high. If they left the guild, their guild contribution would be reduced to 0. Therefore, these hesitant players were also wondering if they should leave the guild. I don't know. Big Brother Bear's mood was no better than don't shoot. If Chuanjin's revenge was in order, the boss was already dead. So would the second boss be far behind? Just as the two were at a loss, Blood Rain sent a private message to Don't Shoot. We can go on like this. The guild will soon be finished. We've already come this far. Blood Rain, do you have any ideas? Don't Shoot asked. I'm still going to say the same thing, Blood Rain said. We need to have a good talk with Chuanjin. Is there any room for discussion? Wang Yu had issued such a warning. It was obvious that he wanted to kill them. Don't Shoot didn't hope for a peaceful solution. Blood Rain said, Of course. You should know what kind of personality Chuanjin has. Didn't you hear what Chuanjin said? If it can be solved with money, then it's not a problem. Ceding land and paying reparations, even if it's a war between countries, is the best way to solve it. All right, Don't Shoot replied. He opened his friend list and found Chun Xiang. Brother Chun, I don't think we need to make things so bad. Captain Don't Shoot said straightforwardly. At this moment, the captain's decision to not shoot was really soft. His words no longer had the confidence from before. Makes sense. Chun Xiang replied succinctly. Come to the tavern. All right, please wait a moment. The resurrection point was very close to the tavern. In a short while, Captain Don't Shoot brought Xiaoxiang Q-Sword and the others to the tavern. They saw the people of Chuanjin drinking as if nothing had happened. He's the captain. Don't shoot. Chun Xiang sent a message to Wu Ji when he saw that the captain had brought someone in. Oh. Wu Ji raised his eyelids and glanced at Captain Don't Shoot. Then he waved at the Quanjun group and said, Make way. The people of Quanjun looked at each other. It was as if the air but were grown on the stool. No one moved. Big bro, big sis, give me some face. Wu Ji said awkwardly in the guild channel. Yang Na was more sensible. She stood up and made way for them. Then, she squeezed Exquisite Dream's side. Sit. Wu Ji extended his hand to Captain Don't Shoot. Captain Don't Shoot sat down, but the resentment of Xiaoxiang Q-Sword and Bloodwolf had already reached the ceiling. These big shots usually had people at their beck and call wherever they went. But when they came to Chuanjin, they didn't even have a seat. Bloodwolf glared at Wu Ji angrily. His knuckles cracked. Wu Ji saw this and said indifferently, What are you glaring at me for? It's good enough to have a seat. I'm helpless too. If you're not convinced, I'll find an opponent for you. The two of you can go out and fight. If you win, you can take my seat. Bloodwolf immediately lost his temper after being rebuked by Wu Ji. He lowered his head and dodged to the side. If Finger the Heavens could beat Chuanjin into submission, then the people sitting here today wouldn't be from Chuanjin. Fighting one-on-one was just asking for trouble. Ahem. Captain Don't Shoot coughed to break the silence. He then took out a big bag of money and 2 items and placed them on the table. He said weakly, Bosses, I brought the things you wanted. The things we wanted? Wu Ji took a closer look. The items on the table were Orc King Dijuan's head and the skill page. Dao Xue put them away. Wu Ji gestured to Mingyu Kendo, who was standing near Captain Don't Shoot. Mingyu Kendo reached out and took Dijuan's head and the skill page. He didn't even look at the bag of money. Boss Wu Ji, what's the meaning of this? Captain Don't Shoot was puzzled when he saw the people from Chuanjin ignoring the gold coins on the table. Didn't Chuanjin say that people from Chuanjin were greedy? It didn't seem like they were greedy to put so many gold coins on the table without even looking at them. Nothing. Wu Ji said, How much is on the table? You mean 100,000 gold. Captain Don't Shoot said. Oh. Wu Ji nodded his head and said, 100,000 gold. I remember that when we first discussed this price, we were only talking about the mental damage fee. Yes, but you weren't killed by us. Captain Don't Shoot was about to say that Chuanjin didn't kill them with Finger the Heavens. Mingdu interrupted Captain Don't Shoot. Watch your words. It's not that we weren't killed by you, but you can't kill us. Didn't we agree at the beginning? As long as we pay, Chuanjin can increase our reputation. Captain Don't Shoot said. That's true, but you didn't agree at the time. Wu Ji said, However, Our Quanjin sect is still quite honest. We even gave you our guild encampment to help raise your reputation. So even if we take 10,000 steps back, this 100,000 gold is also what we deserve. Deserve? Captain Don't Shoot was confused. That's right. This money is our compensation for the psychological damage we suffered. We're just leaving it with you. Now that our guild residence is gone, how much do you think a residence is worth? Wuji said with a smile. Guild base. Hearing this, Captain Don't Shoot finally understood. Xuanjin felt that they didn't have enough money. Then how much do you think is appropriate? Captain Don't Shoot asked. I don't dare to answer this question alone. Everyone, tell me. Wuji said to the others from Xuanjin. Named Sword Daoshua said we surrendered. Our warehouse was looted by Finger the Heavens. The potions and materials inside are worth at least 20,000 gold. Chapter 708. What? Leader, you don't seem to believe me? You should know that our Quanjun sect is the only guild in Rebirth that has an alchemist who can concoct high-level potions. If you don't believe me, I can give you a list for you to see. Mingjian Daoshua said with a sneer. All right, 20,000 it is then. Captain Don't Shoot quickly waved his hand when he saw mine gone. Du Shui really took out a list with a serious expression. Everyone knew that Xuanjin's guild residence was looted by Finger the Heavens. As a advanced potion master guild, Xuanjin was quite famous. After sword points to the heavens took down the Quanjun sect's encampment, they didn't get anything at all. Even the captain wouldn't believe it if he didn't open fire. As for how many losses they had suffered, wasn't it all up to the Quanjun sect's people to spout nonsense? Who knows, it might even be 30,000 gold. They were definitely capable of doing such a thing. You guys destroyed the entrance. At the very least, you should compensate us with 10,000 gold, right? Mingdu said as he gestured. Gate? Isn't that what the system provided? Isn't 10,000 gold a little too much? Don't Shoot said worriedly. All of the basic facilities that came with the guild's territory would automatically be restored when the guild regained ownership of the territory. Thus, as long as the party leader didn't open fire and return the Quanjin sect's contract to the Quanjin sect, all of these facilities would be free. Moreover, even if they weren't free, the repair cost of a broken door wouldn't even be worth 10,000 gold. To place one's pride said, there's still the guild crystal. Our guild guards are gone. Rounding it up, it should be around that amount. Don't Shoot was speechless. Wasn't the guild crystal the same as the guild gate? As for the guild guards, Finger the Heavens had never seen one before. Do you want me to give you 2 receipts? Mingdu asked. Fine. If you say 10,000, then 10,000. Don't Shoot was really afraid of these two. Our forging workshop and potion room were destroyed. This is also a huge loss. Bao San added. The forging workshop and potion room were built by the players themselves. The materials cost a lot of money, so Bao San's words were reasonable. I understand. Don't Shoot nodded, thinking that Xuanjin had a practical person after all. Little did they know, Xuanjin's forging workshop and other facilities were the same as the gate. They were all facilities that came with the system and didn't cost money. We also have a mythical beast boss, a female. Spring said. Is that a boss? A mythical beast? Don't Shoot. The flower demon was the only resistance the Xuanjin sect had. However, the flower demon's level was too low, and it was a domesticated boss. It was destroyed in one round by sword points to the heavens. Leader, Don't Shoot. It was hard to imagine that this thing was related to a mythical beast. Spring Source said, Of course. You know about the crown of flower demons, right? That divine beast boss of ours can drop divine equipment. That's right, divine equipment should be worth quite a lot of money. Not bad. The flower demon can also stimulate the growth of the herbs in our herb garden. Most importantly, it's pretty, and the guild manager, he was so scared by you bastards that he had a heart attack. He didn't lie on the ground and extort money from you. Don't you guys have to pay a pension or something? Looking at these guys from Xuanjin talking back and forth, they were getting more and more unreliable. Captain, Don't Shoot. I've finally learned what shamelessness is. All right, can we give a total number? The captain asked anxiously. Don't be like that. We haven't even made up. Oh no, we've gathered 100,000 for you. The people of the Chuanjian sect spoke righteously and sternly. They looked as if they wouldn't take advantage of him. That's enough. Brothers, don't waste your energy. Is 100,000 enough? The captain shouted. Wuji chuckled. Captain, you're indeed a nouveau riche. You're so generous. Is it okay if it's not a high grade? You guys are just short of putting a knife to my neck. Captain Don't Shoot was in tears. He took out his wallet and threw Chuanjian's base contract to Wuji. The contract was Captain Don't Shoot's bottom line. He couldn't take it out before they reached an agreement. Seeing the contract and the gold coins, the people from Chuanjian all laughed. They were as amiable as next-door neighbors. Captain Don't Shoot felt goosebumps. Wuji took the money and said with a smile, "From now on, our conflicts will be written off. We can only develop in peace." That's true. Captain Don't Shoot nodded. Don't look for trouble with us anymore, Spring said. Brother Spring, don't worry. If I look for trouble with you again, I'll be your grandson. Captain Don't Shoot waved his hands while crying. With this lesson, he definitely wouldn't dare to do it a second time. And you guys, Wuji pointed at Blood Wolf and the others and said, be good people. Don't think too highly of yourself. There's always someone better than you know. The professional masters all bowed their heads and secretly cursed Wuji 180 times in their hearts. At this moment, Blood Wolf whispered, Boss, oh yes, why didn't I see Guru Iron Ox? Captain Don't Shoot asked abruptly. Wuji shook his head and said, Isn't it because of you guys? His artifact weapon is broken. He's probably crying in some corner now. Do you have something to look for him? No. Captain Don't Shoot heard Wuji's words and quickly said, If there's nothing, we'll go back first. Wuji waved his hand and said, Go back, go back. Be good in the future. We Chuanjian are pacifists, you're right. Captain Don't Shoot nodded fiercely and left the tavern with his men in a hurry. Boss, my dagger, Blood Wolf said with a wronged face after leaving the tavern. Blood Wolf's exquisite dagger was still in Wang Yu's hands. Captain Don't Shoot asked if Wang Yu was there just for this matter. Captain Don't Shoot said like he was coaxing a child. Oh, I'll buy you a better one next time. What about this one? This is a dark gold dagger. It can grow. Blood Wolf's question was like a child's, very childish. Captain Don't Shoot patted Blood Wolf's shoulder helplessly and said, Wolf, I'll tell you the truth. That dagger, you'd better forget it. Meow, didn't you hear what he said? The artifact was broken. Wang Yu's weapon was broken because Captain Don't Shoot witnessed it with his own eyes. Although whether Wang Yu's weapon was an artifact or not was another matter, these guys in Chuanjian were unreasonable. Since they said it was an artifact, even if it was a broken wooden stick, these beasts could make evidence to prove that it was a god's scepter or something. Chapter 709. The moment Captain Don't Shoot left with his men, everyone from the Quanjin sect stared at Wuji in unison. Wuji waved his hands and said, Disperse, disperse. Go do whatever you want. Why are you staring at me? Don't. Mingdu jumped over and hugged Wuji's neck. Did you miss something? What? Wuji asked despite knowing the answer. Nonsense. How are we going to split the 200,000? Everyone said in unison. 200,000 gold was a huge sum of money. Even for the wealthy players of the Quanjin sect, it was rare for them to see such a large sum of money. How could Wuji take it all away just like that? Split your sister. Wuji said, Didn't I give you the money? Bullsh asterisk T. What did you get to us? Everyone cursed. Wuji said, Before that, 10,000 per person. Have you forgotten? 10,000 per person? Mingdu was slightly stunned. F asterisk CK, didn't you say that you would take it back? Wuji nodded and said, Yes, I have to take it back. But with your character, the money you get will not be yours if you don't take advantage of it. So I'll just give the 10,000 in my hands to the girls. It'll save me the trouble. Damn you. To place one's pride was depressed after hearing Wuji say this. F asterisk CK. If I knew this would happen, I would have saved my money, although the others did not say anything. Their expressions were the same as to place one's pride. Even Bao San and Yang Na, the two most honest people, had awkward smiles on their faces. These people were really shameless. They heard Wuji say that the remaining money would be taken back, so they did not know how to control their spending. To place one's pride was a shameless person. He even bought many other items to fill his own pockets. Wuji's actions ended up spending all his money. How much money do you have? Mingdu poked to place one's pride and asked. 6,000. To place one's pride, tears streamed down his face. With the price of a main city loudspeaker, to be able to spend 4,000 gold in half a day, it was clear that this grandson had the potential to be a prodigal. F***CK. You're useless. Mingdu sighed. How much do you have left? To place one's pride, asked Mingdu. 3,000. I even bought a dress for a girl I like. Mingdu cried, even sadder than to place one's pride. F***CKU, you deserve it. In contrast, to place one's pride's mood was much better. No problem, right? If there's no problem, I'm going to give the girls money. Wuji said. At this moment, Spring Source said, that's not right. We split 100,000 equally. Where's the remaining 100,000? I knew you guys would ask that. As Wuji spoke, he took out 100,000 gold and gave 40,000 to famous Sword Dao Shue. Then, he took out another 10,000 and kept it for himself. Finally, there was 50,000 left on the table. See that 40,000 is for the guild's construction, and 10,000 is mine, Wuji said as he split the money. What about the 50,000? Exchange it into RMB and let's travel abroad on public expenses. How about that? Spring Source suggested. Okay, I agree. Everyone agreed. It seemed like this group of people wanted to get back the money they lost and strive to minimize their losses. This dream on. Wuji looked at everyone in disdain and said, there's no share for you guys. This is old cows. Hearing that the 50,000 was Wang Yu's, everyone immediately shut their mouths. Apart from Wuji's psychological tactics, the reason why Chuanjin was able to win so cleanly against Finger the Heavens was because of Wang Yu's strength. If Wang Yu hadn't fought head-on with thousands of troops at the end, Finger the Heavens definitely wouldn't have compromised with a guild of a dozen or so people. Even if Chuanjin could defeat Finger the Heavens, they would have to pay a heavy price, just like how they defeated Three Evils Manor. It was Wang Yu who had single-handedly crushed the confidence of Finger Heavenly Sword's entire guild, causing them to completely collapse. Let alone 50,000. Even if Wang Yu were to take 100,000, no one would have any objections. After all, these arrogant experts were absolutely convinced by Wang Yu. Seeing that everyone was silent, Wuji said, Old Cow's weapon is a god-tier weapon. Basically, there's no market for it. Based on my rough estimation, it's at least 20,000 gold. Actually, he only took 20,000 more than you guys. You guys won't be unhappy, right? He won't. Everyone shook their heads. They were still wondering when Wuji learned to understand other people's feelings. In the end, what Wuji said next made everyone explode in anger. It's fine if you're unhappy. I'm just asking. If you're unhappy, you can go find Old Cow. Wuji provoked. F***CKU. Everyone gave him the middle finger. Idiot Wuji, why don't you let Finger the Heavens pay for Old Cow's weapon? To place one's pride asked. Kid, Wuji said with a smile, don't you know that when things reach an extreme, they'll move in the opposite direction? 200,000 is Finger the Heavens' bottom line. If you continue to force him, he'll do something desperate. Captain Don't Shoot didn't lack money, but no rich person was stupid. 200,000 wasn't a small amount. It was enough for Captain Don't Shoot to find another place to recruit more people. If Captain Don't Shoot was really forced into a corner, he would change to another city to develop. Chuanjin didn't have the time to play cross-city hunting. Wuji was like this. Every time he bid, it was just right. It could make people's hearts ache, but it wouldn't make people despair. Bottom line, it couldn't be touched. I see. To place one's pride touched his chin and said, then I'll send Uncle Nyo's money to him. You? Why? To place one's pride chuckled and said, Uncle Nyo is much more generous than you. Wouldn't it be great if he gave me 8 to 10,000 as an errand fee? TSK, how shameless. Mingdu looked at to place one's pride with disdain and said, I'll send it over. I'm an upright person. I won't be greedy for errand fees. I'm a good friend of Brother Iron Ox. Get lost. Do you think you'll get such a good thing? Wuji flipped his hand and put the bag of money into his bag. After leaving the tavern, Wuji walked along the central street and quickly arrived at the entrance of the blacksmith shop. He saw Wang Yu with 2 short rods on his back, begging the NPC. Master Simba, with our relationship, please help me think of a way. Wang Yu had a gold coin in his left hand and a bottle of wine in his right. He stood at the entrance of the blacksmith shop and chatted with Simba. I really can't help you with this. If you continue like this, I'll quit drinking. Simba was really annoyed by Wang Yu. Otherwise, how could the old drunkard quit drinking so easily? Wang Yu's expression was also filled with despair. Originally, Wang Yu only wanted to find a way to repair his weapon. That was why he came to the blacksmith shop to look for Simba. After all, this old man was the best blacksmith that Wang Yu knew. Who knew if Simba had taken the wrong medicine? He actually said that he couldn't fix it. Chapter 710. Hey, what's old cow doing? Wuji walked over and asked. It's you. Wang Yu turned his head and saw Wuji. His face was full of despair as he said, I'm trying to get him to fix my weapon, but he's ignoring me. It can't be. Wuji was puzzled. Don't you always look for a blacksmith to fix a weapon? What's the use of looking for him? Wang Yu said softly, the blacksmith said that special weapons can't be fixed. This is a blacksmith. Be careful with what you say. Blacksmith? Wuji was stunned for a moment. He took out a large bag of 50,000 gold coins and shook it in front of Simba. Sir, if you can fix his weapon, this money is all yours. F***CK? You're crazy. Where did you get so much money? Seeing the bag of money in Wuji's hand, Wang Yu cried out in shock. Wuji said calmly, It's nothing as long as I can fix your weapon. Wuji. Wang Yu was moved to tears when he heard that. He thought to himself that although Wuji was shameless, he was really good to his friends. He threw away 50,000 gold coins just like that. How domineering. Simba raised his head and looked at Wuji. He shook his head and said regretfully, Forgive me for not being able to help. It seemed that old man Simba was also in despair if he couldn't earn this 50,000 gold coins. Sigh, it seems that there's really no hope. He can't fix it. Wuji sighed and threw the bag of money to Wang Yu. Simba wasn't even willing to do it for 50,000 gold coins. It seemed that this old man really couldn't do it. If there was even the slightest chance, with the system's shamelessness, how could it not earn this money? Why are you giving this to me? Wang Yu wasn't surprised by Simba's incompetence. He was surprised that Wuji threw the bag of money to him. Wuji said, The compensation for finger sword in the sky. This is your portion. F***CK? This is my money. Wang Yu wanted to vomit blood. This grandson was really generous with his own money. Immediately, Wang Yu's gratitude towards Wuji disappeared. Wuji curled his lips. Nonsense. Would I dare to give him all my money? Wang Yu, do you have any weapons? Wuji asked Wang Yu. Most players would have 2 sets of equipment, one for main use and one for backup. This was because many class skills could only be unleashed with weapons. Players without weapons were practically trash. Of course, Grandmasters of Combat were an exception. They were trash without weapons. What's that? Wang Yu asked. In fact, Wang Yu also had other weapons such as swords, spears, swords, and halberds, but this was the first time he had heard of the term backup weapon. Wuji was speechless. A super expert like Wang Yu could always make Wuji want to bang his head against a wall. I have a pair of boxing gloves here. It's from a random team. You can use it first, Wuji said as he took out a pair of gloves from his bag and threw it to Wang Yu. Flame Arm Guard, Boxing Gloves, Silver, Attack, 60-120 mana, 40-80 plus 27 Strength plus 31 Vitality, 11 Agility Flame, Passive Skill. 30% chance of causing a burning effect. Triggers twice every 60 seconds. Heavy Punch. Passive skill. Increases attack and defense by 30%. Reduces attack speed and movement speed by 30%. Required class. Monk required level. 35 weapon attribute. Fire after level 30. The weapons dropped by players would have a small chance of adding attributes. These weapons were known as elemental weapons and were very rare on the market. Trash. Wang Yu looked at the attributes and couldn't help but complain. F***CK. Even though it's not as good as your previous one, it's still an elemental fire weapon with a full buff. Trash my ass. Wuji jumped and scolded. Out of all the elemental weapons, fire weapons had the highest attack and were loved by players. Naturally, their prices weren't low either. After all, it was stolen by Wuji, so it definitely wasn't cheap. It was a bit too much to be appraised as trash by Wang Yu. However, what Wuji didn't know was that for Wang Yu, speed was an extremely important attribute. Not only did this flame arm guard reduce agility, movement speed would also affect evasion, and attack speed would affect the consistency of skills, so it was better not to use this weapon. A Grandmaster of Combat can also use skills empty-handed, Wang Yu said with a smile. Wuji stuffed the arm guard into Wang Yu's hands and said, I know, but you should still take it. You can't be without a weapon. Otherwise, if we say that you're Chuanjin's top expert, we won't have any face. All right, I'll give you some face. Wang Yu reluctantly threw the arm guard into his backpack. Wuji didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Meow. A full buff fire weapon was hard to find even with money, but when it came to Wang Yu, it was said that he was giving him some face. Wasn't this cheap? What did you come to find me for? After throwing the weapon into his backpack, Wang Yu asked Wuji, to give me some money. Do I get paid for running errands? Yeah. Wang Yu took out a copper and threw it to Wuji. For this kind of bastard who almost threw 50,000 gold to an NPC, 1 copper was extra. F***CK, you're insulting me. Wuji was furious. Yeah, what about it? Wang Yu looked at Wuji from the corner of his eyes. Wuji, do you dare to insult me 1,000,000 times? Wang Yu, all right, that's enough. There's one more thing. You have to go to the administration hall to submit the quest later, Wuji said as he took out the head of Beast King Dijuan and gave it to Wang Yu. Oh, right, I'm now the leader of the mercenary group. Wang Yu suddenly realized after taking the quest item. I'll look for someone first, then go to the administration hall. Wuji didn't care. Okay, as long as you can submit the quest before you go offline. Then why are you still following me? Wang Yu asked as he walked into the alley. Wuji said, I have to follow you. With your level of education and naming, I'm afraid that our mercenary group won't be able to face others in the future. Oh, then follow me. Wang Yu led Wuji a few dozen meters forward, then turned around and came to the dirty alley. Are you here to use the toilet? It was Wuji's first time here. Seeing the dirty alley, he couldn't help but mock him. Don't talk. Wang Yu glared at Wuji, took out a bottle of wine, unscrewed the cap, and put it on the ground. Not long after, a dirty figure crawled out from the pile of rubbish and crawled in front of the wine bottle. That's right, it was crawling. It was the kind of crawling that didn't use its hands and feet. The scientific name was squirming. In our Shandong dialect, it was called gushing. Wuji saw this scene and was stunned. Damn, what kind of worm is this? Kid, you and your profession disgust me. What worm? I'm a human. Hermit took a sip of wine, sat up, and then pointed at Wang Yu and said, If you didn't come, I would have died of hunger. Teacher, Wang Yu greeted politely. Teacher? Wuji said in horror, Is this the legendary martial god? The hero professions in Rebirth were inherited by the 7 heroes. Among the 7 heroes, only martial god was the most mysterious. It was said that he had disappeared thousands of years ago, and no one knew whether he was dead or alive. Chapter 711. In Rebirth, there were 7 hero classes in the Light faction, and 2 of them were from the Vatican. Along with the great wizard Reynold, Wuji had seen 3 of them. Although they were all white-haired, all of them had the demeanor of a dignified master. Wuji really did not dare to imagine that this person was dressed like the Grandmaster of Combat's hero class mentor. No, he's not martial god. He's my mentor and heir, Wang Yu explained. Mentor? Your taste is a little heavy. Wuji looked at Wang Yu meaningfully, then said, Damn, the Grandmaster of Combat class is bad enough, and the class mentor is also like this. The game designer must have sh*t in his head. There were so many classes in Rebirth, but only the Grandmaster of Combat was more Eastern. Wuji could not help but feel uncomfortable looking at the old man in front of him. Hermit heard that and said, the designer must have sh*t in his head, but I still want to beat you up for talking like that. Ugh. And he's an NPC with high intelligence? Wuji heard Hermit and could not help but be shocked. Normal NPC with high intelligence could only communicate with players on a daily basis, while NPC with high intelligence was basically no different from players. Only they could scold the game designer. Yes, he's not any lower than the Archmage Reynold, Wang Yu said. He's really an otherworldly master. Wuji heard Wang Yu, and his expression changed immediately. He quickly squatted in front of Hermit and said, Master, it's an honor to meet you. Come, let me help you up. As he spoke, Wuji placed Hermit's black claws on his pure white priest robe. Your friend? Hermit stood up and asked Wang Yu. Yes. Wang Yu nodded. Hermit looked at Wang Yu in disdain and said, Look at him. He's much more mature than you. When you first met me, Wang Yu was speechless. Wuji whispered, What did you do to him the first time you saw him? I beat him up. Wang Yu said, You're awesome. Wuji gasped in admiration. He even dared to beat up his own class instructor. Was there anyone that this brat didn't dare to beat up? It had to be known that class mentors were equivalent to a player's boss. This was especially true for unconventional class mentors. They controlled a large amount of class resources. Anyone who dared to offend a class mentor had to be prepared to die at any time. Wang Yu had beaten up her own mentor and was still doing well. It was a miracle in the game. Tell me, what business do you have with me this time? Hermit ignored the whispers of the two and asked Wang Yu with his hands on his waist, looking as if his body had been hollowed out. It seemed that this old man was not just a drunkard. Wang Yu took the two short sticks from his waist and showed them to Hermit. The weapons are broken. I'm not a blacksmith. What's the point of finding me if the weapons are broken? Hermit said unhappily. It's my class weapon. Wang Yu said, Martial Artist Sai. Even though Martial Artist Sai was brought by Wang Yu in the beginner village, the one who unlocked the use of this weapon was Hermit. If even he couldn't fix it, then Wang Yu really couldn't think of anyone else who could. Oh! Hermit nodded his head and said, You're pretty smart. Knowing to find me, you really have a way? Hearing Hermit say this, Wang Yu immediately felt that there was a chance. It's not that I don't have a way, but even if you're my disciple, if I tell you the method so easily, wouldn't you think that my method isn't worth money? I know. Wang Yu smiled as he took out a money pouch from his bag. Asking for money was a common practice for NPCs. Wang Yu was used to being cheated, so he prepared the money early in the morning. Seeing the money pouch in Wang Yu's hand, Hermit grabbed it with one hand and snorted coldly. You look down on me too much. Do you think I'm a greedy person? Wang Yu was stunned for a moment. He took out another money pouch and handed it over. 500 gold is still not enough. Money is like floating clouds to me. Hermit reached out to take it and continued to act cool. Originally, Wang Yu wanted to stuff money into Hermit's hand, intending to stop until Hermit was satisfied. However, after 2 more times, Hermit still didn't let go. Wang Yu could only helplessly say, Teacher, if you tell me what you want, my 1,000 gold is yours. Hee. Hermit glanced at Wang Yu and said, I want a pair of crescent-shaped sheets. A pair of crescent-shaped sheets? What's that? Wang Yu had a look of confusion on his face. It's wine, Wuji said at the side. Hermit nodded and said, That's right, it's wine. Wang Yu was depressed. I'll give you money. What wine can't you buy? No. A pair of crescent-shaped sheets can't be bought even with money. It's said that after drinking it, one will fall head over heels and dream for 1,000 years. This old man really wants to try and see if it's really that magical. Fall head over heels? Dream for 1,000 years? Alcohol poisoning after taking drugs? Wang Yu took out a shining dagger and said, I have a faster way. Hermit shook his head and sighed. You're good at everything. It's just that your brain is full of muscles. You don't understand the romance of men. Anyway, you don't have a pair of crescent-shaped sheets, so I won't tell you. You have to tell me where to buy it. Wang Yu vomited a mouthful of blood. Meow, just a name. How the hell do you know where to find it? If I knew, would I ask you for it? Hermit glanced at Wang Yu, his eyes full of contempt. Wang Yu was speechless for a moment. He couldn't help but clench the dagger tightly. Wuji hurriedly pulled Wang Yu's hand and said, Don't worry, I have a bottle of crescent-shaped sheath here. Are you serious? Where did you get it? When Wang Yu heard Wuji say this, his originally depressed mood suddenly brightened up. Wuji said, "The wine for special quests can be refreshed in the tavern. It's not difficult to get it if you wait." "Great, give it to me quickly," Wang Yu said anxiously. Wuji said, "I don't have it with me now. You have to follow me to get it." As he said this, Wuji walked out of the alley. Wang Yu saw this and hurriedly followed. The two of them walked out of the alley and didn't walk far. Then, they turned a few corners and walked to the next street. Wang Yu curiously pulled Wuji and said, "I don't play mini games. Don't lie to me. Is this the way to the bank?" "Hee hee." Wuji laughed and said, "Did I say I would take you to the bank? Then where are we going?" Wang Yu was puzzled. "Here." Wuji smiled and pointed at the grocery store in front of him. "Is there a crescent-shaped sheet here? I haven't seen it before." Wang Yu was puzzled. Wang Yu was too familiar with the things sold in the grocery store. Wang Yu was often forced by Mu Zixin to come here to purchase goods. Wang Yu had seen all kinds of things here, but he had never seen alcohol. "Who said I want to buy a crescent-shaped sheet?" Wuji stepped into the store and then shouted at the grocery store owner, "Boss, do you have an empty water bottle? Give me a pen and a piece of paper. 3 copper coins. Here's the money." Wuji took out the money and handed it to the grocery store owner. Then he asked Wang Yu, "Do you have any alcohol in your bag?" Chapter 712. Are you going to make a bottle of Moonlight Single? Seeing the things that Wuji bought, Wang Yu immediately realized what this guy wanted to do. "Yes, where else would I get that thing?" Wuji said matter-of-factly, "Didn't you say, yes, the tavern does have quest wine, but it's expensive and difficult to get. By the time you get it, the game will be closed. Is this okay?" Wang Yu said worriedly, "Teacher Hermit is an advanced, intelligent NPC." Wuji said, "It's because he's an intelligent NPC that it's okay to do this. You can't fool non-intelligent NPCs. The operating system of intelligent NPCs was different from non-intelligent NPCs. Intelligent NPCs operated by themselves, while non-intelligent NPCs had the system to assist in identification. If Hermit was a functional non-intelligent NPC, in his eyes, the things that Wuji made were just a bottle with a label on it. He definitely wouldn't care about Wang Yu. But the operating system of intelligent NPCs couldn't identify things that they hadn't seen before. If he drinks it, won't he be exposed? Wang Yu said again. Wuji said, "Didn't you hear him? He has never seen this wine before. Even if you add sulfuric acid to it, you won't be able to tell if it's real or fake." Makes sense. Wang Yu nodded and took out a bottle of malt wine. It was the kind that cost 5 copper coins. Wang Yu wore it to activate the wine immortal state. "Damn, even if it's fake, can't you get some good wine?" Wuji saw Wang Yu take out a bottle of low-quality wine and shouted. Wang Yu said, "Anyway, he hasn't drunk it before. As long as it has some taste, it's fine. Why don't we add some water?" "Old cow, you can do it." When Wuji heard this, he was amazed by Wang Yu's learning ability. He had long heard that Wang Yu was gifted. He could master martial arts after learning for a while. Now it seemed that Wang Yu was not only gifted in martial arts. Wuji poured the ale into the empty bottle, then wrote the words moon-shaped list on a piece of paper and stuck it on the bottle. "Isn't this label a little too empty?" Wang Yu looked at the bottle and said narcissistically, "Should I write the word cow next to it?" "Don't talk nonsense. Anything with the word ox in it is erguo too," Wuji said as he stuffed the bottle into Wang Yu's hands. After making the wine, the two returned to the alley. Wang Yu said to Hermit without batting an eyelid, "Teacher, here's what you wanted." Old Man Hermit looked at the rough packaging and said doubtfully, "Is this the legendary crescent-shaped bill? Why does it look like fake alcohol mixed with alcohol?" As expected of an NPC with advanced intelligence, it was not easy to fool him. Wang Yu's heart tightened when he heard this. He glanced at Wuji. Wuji smiled and said, "Master, do you know that there's a saying called returning to one's natural state?" "Oh, what does that mean?" "It means that the better something is, the more ordinary it looks. For a master like you, if Old Cow didn't tell me, How would I know that you're an otherworldly master? Wuji shamelessly flattered Mo Wuji. Yup, I like what you said. Hermit was confused by Wuji's flattery. He unscrewed the bottle cap and gulped it down. The two rascals, Wang Yu and Wuji, stared at the bottle until Hermit emptied it in one go. Wuji said loudly, "Master, you really drink. I'm impressed. Why do I feel like this crescent-shaped bill isn't that great?" Hermit smacked his lips. Wuji hurriedly said, "You don't understand. Something like wine can only numb normal people. For a master like you, it's actually a beverage. Even a high-grade wine, like the crescent-shaped bill, can't make you drunk." "Huh." Hermit laughed and said, "Forget it. Since your words are my liking, I won't pursue the matter of whether this wine is real or fake." "Then what about the weapon?" Wang Yu was overjoyed when he saw that he had muddled through. "I can repair the weapon, but I still need you to find the materials. System notification. You have activated the quest damaged artifact. Do you want to accept?" "Nonsense. Wasn't this quest the reason I spent so much effort?" Wang Yu accepted. System notification. You have received the quest damaged artifact. Grade A. Introduction. The martial scholar's sai was the weapon martial god used in the past. During the descent of darkness, martial god fought against 4 apostles alone, causing the weapon to be damaged. After the weapon fragments were scattered among the people, it was recast. Seeing the quest introduction, Wang Yu had some real understanding of his weapon. "This quest doesn't say that I need to collect any materials," Wang Yu asked. Hermit said, "Although the martial scholar's sai was recast, the materials used were fragments of the original artifact. So, if you want to repair it, the materials you need to find are also very rare." After Hermit said this, Wang Yu's quest changed. There was an additional line of materials at the end. God Meteorite 0/2D Ivine, Wood Vine 0/2 Star Sand 0/10 Blood Flame Gold 0/5. There were more than a dozen repair materials, each of which was rare, and Wang Yu had never even heard of them. As expected of an exclusive artifact, the materials used to repair it could be used to make another artifact. "Do you have these things?" Wang Yu shared the quest. Wuji shook his head and said, "I don't mind. Even if I was a miner, these super rare materials will be used for the artifact quest in the future. No one will sell them now, even if they have the money." "Miner." Wang Yu nodded and pulled out his friend's list. He pulled out the list of materials and sent it to Evildoers Run Wild. "Find these materials for me." After a while, Evildoers Run Wild sent a message. "You really are my brother. Do you know how much these things are worth? You're asking for my life again. Do you know that?" Wang Yu said, "Don't talk nonsense. Hurry up and get them for me. I won't shortchange you." Evildoers Run Wild said, "Then you'll have to wait for a while. At this stage, getting these things is harder than winning the lottery. I have to go through the inventory list of 300 main cities. As for whether I can gather all of them, I can't guarantee." "Is it that exaggerated?" Wang Yu was surprised. Going through the inventory list of 300 main cities might not be enough. How rare were these materials? "To tell you the truth, it's not exaggerated at all." Evildoers Run Wild said, "All right, I'll go find them for you." "Find the old demon again?" Wuji saw that Wang Yu was stunned and did not speak. He also guessed what Wang Yu was doing. Evildoers Run Wild had a monopoly on minerals in Rebirth. If even he could not get these materials, Wang Yu might really have to wait for a while before doing this quest. Wang Yu nodded and said, "Yep." He said he might not be able to find all of them. He's going to check the inventory now. Since he's checking the inventory, it probably won't be done in a few hours. "Let's go submit the mercenary group quest first," Wuji said. Chapter 7:13. It was less than 100 meters from the alley to the city hall. Soon, they arrived at the administrative hall. There were not many players in the afternoon, so there were not many people in the administrative hall. Wang Yu and Wuji walked straight to the NPC and handed over King Dijuan's head. The non-intelligent NPC had the temperament of a non-intelligent NPC. He was not surprised to see Beast King Dijuan's head. He put it away and said to Wang Yu, "Please name your battle team." An input box appeared in front of Wang Yu. "What should we call it?" Wang Yu asked Wuji. How about Xuanjin Heroes Team? Wuji said. Wang Yu shook his head. Loud but not elegant enough. How about Xuanjin Sword? Elegant but not loud enough. Then let's call it Sharp Sword Heroes Team. Wuji said stubbornly. Wang Yu thought for a while and said, It's too difficult to say. Since you are a group of animals, why don't we call it Iron Ox's Nest? Fu asterisk K? Wuji said angrily. Can't we be more cultured? Cultured? Wang Yu touched his chin and asked, For example, as long as it's not a livestock pen like Iron Ox's Nest. Wuji replied, Well, that's easy. Wang Yu nodded and raised his hand to input 2 words, Motley Crowd. The NPC asked indifferently, Are you sure you want to name your team Motley Crowd? Yes. Congratulations to player Iron Ox for establishing Motley Crowd Team. The current capacity of the team is 20. Please accept the team mission as soon as possible to expand the team. Then, all the people in Xuanjin who had accepted the team mission received the notification. Your team Motley Crowd has been established. The current capacity of the team is day. What the hell is this? Old dog Wuji, didn't I tell you to follow that animal? Why did you give it such a lousy name? Stupid Wuji die. F asterisk CK. What does the old cow have to do with me? We can't beat him, but can't we beat you? Seeing the team's name, almost everyone shouted. Although Wuji and Wang Yu are not people to be trifled with, everyone still chose to scold Wuji. You bastards, Wuji replied indignantly. Then he stared at Wang Yu and said, This is your so-called cultured and meaningful name? Wang Yu said proudly, That's right. This is an idiom, and it's not cultured enough. It's low-key and meaningful, especially its meaning. It's in line with the characteristics of people like us. Wasn't that right? These guys from Xuanjin were all unorthodox players. Compared to professional teams, they were just a motley crew. You're ruthless? I'm convinced. After listening to Wang Yu's explanation, Wuji spat out a mouthful of blood. He gave Wang Yu a thumbs up, tacitly agreeing to this helpless fact. A motley crew was a motley crew. The team was already established, and they couldn't just disband it. Is there anything else? Wang Yu asked Wuji. Nothing else. All right, if there's nothing else, I'm going offline. Wang Yu said as he was about to go offline. Wuji said, What time is it now? Wang Yu laughed evilly. Do you know how to control yourself when playing games? I advise you to go offline as well. Otherwise, Brother Chun and the others will definitely beat you up when they catch you later. F asterisk CK. It's all your fault. Wuji was about to get angry at Wang Yu when the spot where Wang Yu was standing flashed and turned into thin air. It was so exciting to run away after acting cool. The next morning, as soon as he went online, Wang Yu received a message from Evildoers Run Wild. Boss, you're finally online. Wang Yu looked at the time and said, It's still early. Why are you in such a hurry? Did you find the materials? Evildoers Run Wild said, Most of the materials have been found. Currently, there are only 2 that we don't have any clues about. Oh, which 2? Wang Yu asked. At the same time, he was secretly surprised that this quest to collect materials was really difficult. Even a mining monopoly like Evildoers Run Wild could not collect them. Evildoers Run Wild said, Godfall Stone and Divine Woodvine. There's no news about these 2. I've asked all the studios in the game, and there's no such thing. These should be materials that only high-level bosses can drop. If that's the case, then I'll look for the remaining 2 myself. Wang Yu said with some regret. For something that even Evildoers Run Wild could not find, it would be impossible for a single person to find it. The reason why Wang Yu said this was because he did not want to make things difficult for Evildoers Run Wild. Evildoers Run Wild said, All right, I'll mail the materials I have to you first. I'll keep an eye out for the remaining 2. All right, thanks for the trouble. Wang Yu replied and turned off the message. Not long after, the system sent a notification. Wang Yu found the post office, took out the materials, and sent 10,000 gold coins to Evildoers Run Wild. Actually, Wang Yu did not know how much these rare materials were worth. However, looking at Evildoers Run Wild's unlucky state, it was definitely worth a lot. As for whether 10,000 gold coins was enough, it was not up to Wang Yu to consider. In any case, there would be no refund or compensation. After collecting the materials, Wang Yu opened a new team channel and shouted, "What are you guys doing? Are you guys clearing dungeons? Clear my ass. Have you done your daily quests?" As soon as Wang Yu shouted, Wuji replied resentfully. It seemed that this guy must have been bullied by others yesterday. Daily quests. What's that? Wang Yu asked in confusion. Wuji said resentfully, "Open the team interface and click on today's daily quest. You're already an adult, yet you still need someone to teach you how to play the game." Oh. Wang Yu followed Wuji's instructions and quickly found this option. The daily quests of the team were similar to the daily quests of the guild. They were mandatory quests. If the team did it often, they could level up. If they didn't do it, the team's activity would drop. Once it dropped to a certain extent, the team would drop levels or even disband. The daily quests of the team were random. For example, Wuji's current quest was to go to the administrative center to accept a mercenary quest and help players who needed help. Spring Source quest was to clear a dungeon in a main city within Yu Huiqing's territory. Wang Yu's quest was the simplest but also the most deceptive, to increase the team's reputation. To increase the team's reputation, he had to go Yu Huiqing and give out 100 flyers. This quest was really embarrassing. Wang Yu was a famous person in Yu Huiqing. Who thought of giving out flyers on the streets? After seeing his quest, Wang Yu rummaged through his backpack. As expected, in the most inconspicuous part of his backpack, Wang Yu found a stack of flyers. Wang Yu's sweat flowed down his forehead. Mandatory quests couldn't be canceled. Of course, players could choose not to do it. However, if they didn't finish it within a month, they would be punished. As the team leader, Wang Yu's punishment was more severe. If others couldn't finish it, they would be forced to leave the team. If Wang Yu couldn't finish it, the team might be disbanded. Chapter 714. Handing out flyers was not an easy job. For a nerd like Wang Yu who rarely showed his face, it was difficult to communicate with others. Taking the initiative to talk to others on the streets was akin to asking for his life. Although it was in the game, the simulation of such a realistic scene made Wang Yu's heart ache. After walking around the streets for a long time, Wang Yu could not get any of the flyers out. Just when Wang Yu was about to give up, a familiar figure suddenly appeared in front of Wang Yu. The person was wearing a black robe, holding the flyers in one hand and dragging a mage player in the other. He said fiercely, "Do you see the badge on my chest?" With such a fierce and ruthless tone, Wang Yu knew that it was Mingdu, the B***T6, just by hearing the voice. The player looked at the yin-yang fish on Mingdu's chest and said, I see it. It's good that you see it." Mingdu said fiercely, "My name is Wuji. I'm the boss of Chuanjin. Take these flyers, don't throw them away, or else I'll hunt you down 100 times. I understand." The little mage took the flyers with a wronged expression. Then, Mingdu took out a silver coin and threw it to the little mage, saying, "That's more like it. Use this to buy some equipment." Seeing the money, the threatened player's expression became much better. He carried the stack of flyers from Mingdu and hurriedly ran away. Looking at the little mage's departing figure, Mingdu stretched and said, "Mission accomplished. This mission is 2F*** easy." Wang Yu walked over and exclaimed, "You can even throw all the flyers to one person?" Mingdu heard this and quickly turned around. After seeing that it was Wang Yu, he said with a smile, "What do you think? It's fine as long as you can hand them out. Do you really want to find 100 people to hand out flyers?" Wang Yu was speechless. This stupid game was really not for good people. Even good people could be led down the wrong path. "All right, enough chatting. I still have some guild daily work to do, so I'll be leaving first." Seeing Wang Yu in a daze, Mingdu said these words and hurriedly ran away. When Wang Yu came to his senses, he followed suit and grabbed an assassin player, saying, "Bro, I'm from Chuanjin." The assassin was stunned and said with a little panic, "Quan Chuanjin? It sounds familiar. What can I do for you, buddy?" Who in Yu Huiqing did not know of Chuanjin's famous name? This brother was only familiar, but it was obvious that he was an outsider. Wang Yu blushed and said shyly, "Our Chuanjin has just formed a team. This is a flyer. Take it well and don't throw it away. Otherwise, we'll hunt you down 100 times. Hunt me down? The assassin was stunned and then said in surprise, I know. No wonder it sounds familiar. You're that famous gang. Are you planning to change your profession by forming a team? What gang? It was obvious that Xuanjin didn't have a good reputation just by hearing the words. Seeing the assassin's reaction, Wang Yu was a little embarrassed. However, Wang Yu quickly calmed down and pretended to be fierce. He said, If you know, then hurry up and put away. Otherwise, I'll kill you. The assassin shivered and quickly took the flyer from Wang Yu's hand and put it in his bag. Soon, Wang Yu received the mission completed notification. Seeing this, Wang Yu happily took out a gold coin and threw it to the assassin. This is your reward. There's nothing else for you to do. Go. However, the assassin didn't leave after taking the gold coin. Instead, he followed up and asked Wang Yu, I'm from Cloud Mountain City. Do you know which team is the best here? The best team? Wang Yu answered without hesitation when he heard the assassin's question. It's definitely our team. Yours? The assassin said doubtfully, just like you, playing with a team to the point of threatening passers-by on the streets. Probably no one would associate this kind of person with an expert. Wang Yu blushed and said, Really? Our Xuanjin team is still very strong. Oh, the assassin thought for a while and said, I've heard that Xuanjin has a very wild reputation. Since I've met them, I really have to meet them. Can you introduce me to them? Wang Yu said awkwardly. About this, they're all very busy. The people in Xuanjin were like wild cranes in clouds. They didn't have the habit of meeting fans everywhere. Is this enough? The assassin took out a bag of 500 gold coins and handed it to Wang Yu. Damn, he's a tycoon. Wang Yu couldn't help but be shocked when he saw the gold coins. Although to Wang Yu, 500 gold wasn't much. To most non-renminbi players, 500 gold was all they had. This kid casually threw out 500 gold coins just to meet a few hooligans. It was obvious how extravagant he was. Seeing that Wang Yu didn't reply, the assassin smiled and said, Brother, 500 gold is not a small amount. Follow me. Wang Yu quickly put the 500 gold coins into his bag and nodded to the assassin. At the same time, he sent a message in the channel. Everyone, gather at the tavern. I have something urgent to attend to. Hearing that Wang Yu had something urgent to attend to, the people in Xuanjin hurriedly put down their quests and rushed to the tavern. When they arrived and saw Wang Yu, their noses were twisted in anger. When Wang Yu saw them enter, he pointed at them like a technician and said to the assassin, Do you see them? They're the other members of Xuanjin. Who are you looking for? The assassin stared at Xuanjin and saw that they were tall and short, male and female. Every one of them had the air of a gangster. He couldn't help but exclaim, Xuanjin, you really do live up to your name. These fellows from the Quanzhen sect didn't have a good temper. They were sent all the way here just to be treated like monkeys. These fellows were very unhappy. They didn't dare to vent their anger on Wang Yu, but they weren't polite to others. Wuji pointed at the assassin and said, All right, no one's talking nonsense with you. Who the hell are you? This is Wuji, the boss of Xuanjin. Wang Yu whispered to the assassin. The assassin said in surprise, So you're the legendary leader of Wuji. My name is Greater Heights. Which Greater Heights? Hearing the assassin's self-introduction, Wuji's eyes immediately lit up. Greater Heights. This name was not inferior to Xuanjin in the online gaming circle. The reason why Xuanjin was famous was because these people had nothing to lose to those who wore shoes. The reason why Greater Heights was famous was because this kid wore shoes. It was rumored that Greater Heights was a professional gaming strategist. No matter what game he played, he could get a full set of top-quality equipment, a bunch of top-quality skills, and a group of top-quality pets in the shortest amount of time. However, this crazy guy had a very awesome attribute, and that was absolute pacifism. Moreover, this guy wasn't just any kind of pacifism. It was said that this guy had never piked anyone since he started playing. Even if he had a full set of godly equipment, he would still turn and run when he was slashed by a naked newbie. Chapter 715. Greater Heights didn't seem to care about his reputation as a coward. When he heard Wuji's question, he replied proudly, "That's right, it's that Greater Heights." Heh, who gave him such a sense of superiority. TSK tisk. Hearing Greater Heights' words, the expressions of the other Chuanjin members immediately became the same as Wuji. Their eyes were filled with greed. This was a real fat sheep. If it was really that Greater Heights, they would make a profit by killing him and getting a piece of equipment. Greater Heights was no longer surprised by the gazes of the Chuanjin members. Not only did he not panic, but he also said calmly, "Don't look at me like that. Can't you see that I'm not wearing much equipment? Moreover, I'm here to cooperate with you. If you kill me, you won't get anything." Oh, when everyone heard this, they couldn't help but size up Greater Heights. This kid really wasn't wearing much equipment. It seemed like the EXP of killing and looting was no less than the EXP of killing and looting from Chuanjin. Without any equipment on him, he didn't give Chuanjin a chance to kill and loot. When he stated his intention, the Chuanjin members gave up on their evil thoughts. After all, killing someone at the Greater Heights would only result in one piece of equipment at most. If they worked together with someone at the Greater Heights, they would have a chance to obtain even more benefits. Putting aside the shrewd people from the Quanjin sect, even other people will be able to weigh the pros and cons as long as they weren't stupid. When Wuji heard this, he touched his nose meaningfully. He had a whole new level of respect for this legendary coward. Although everyone said that Greater Heights was a coward, there was no sense of panic in his speech and actions. On the contrary, this guy's every movement was filled with confidence. This kind of confidence couldn't be faked. Only a person with a strong heart would have this kind of temperament. Wuji was also a person with a strong heart. He was very sensitive to players of the same type. Although Greater Heights had only said a few words, every word he said was straight to the point. Not only did he reveal his identity, but no one dared to touch him. This showed that this person's brain was very good. Of course, this was also within reason. Greater Heights was a gaming strategy expert. Without a brain, with his character of running away at the sight of people, what strategy could he possibly have? Cooperate? Our paths are different. What's there to cooperate with? Wuji asked with a sneer. Wuji had always been on his guard against such an intelligent opponent. Hee. Greater Heights smiled and said, "I've been tackling a difficult mission recently. The final objective of the mission should be in your Yuhuicheng. Everyone knows that I'm not good at fighting, but I heard from this brother here that your Chuanjin is the best team in Yuhuicheng, so I came to take a look." As he spoke, he looked at Wuji and said, "Boss Wuji is so wary of me. Are you afraid?" "Hey," Wuji said, "you're a coward. Can you tolerate that?" The people from Chuanjin were all bad at heart. When they saw that Wuji was said to be afraid by a famous coward, they began to gloat and try to smooth things over. Wuji didn't get angry. Instead, he smiled and said, "Old brother Dangfeng, we're all smart people. Don't try to goad me. Only idiots would fall for such low-level goading." As he spoke, Wuji turned around and looked at Mingdu and to place one's pride who were shouting the loudest. They pointed their middle fingers at Wuji and said, "You're the idiot, pure and innocent." Ha! Greater Heights looked at Chuanjin who were messing around and could not help but laugh. "Then I'll be straightforward. This is a hidden dungeon. I need to get an item from it. The reward will definitely satisfy you. If you're willing, I'll give you the mission now." "What item do you want?" Wang Yu, who had been silent behind Greater Heights, asked. Greater Heights shook his head and said, "I don't know. However, this item is guarded by the boss. I want you to help lure the boss away." "Lure the boss? That's too troublesome." Wang Yu said, "Don't worry about that. When the time comes, I'll design an absolutely safe route for you according to the terrain. You can lure the boss away." "That's not what I meant." As Greater Heights was speaking, Wang Yu interrupted him and said, "What I meant was, just kill the boss and it'll be over. There's no need for so many twists and turns." Greater Heights looked at Wang Yu and then shook his head with a smile. No. You didn't understand what I meant. That boss is not something we can deal with. Otherwise, I wouldn't need to hire experts like you to lure the boss away." "Is that so?" Wang Yu asked suspiciously. Greater Heights said, "Of course. One of the prequel bosses for this quest can wipe out several teams. Greater Heights quest should also be a chain quest. According to the principle of the boss strength, if the prequel boss was so overpowered, the final boss would definitely be incomparably strong. The teams that Greater Heights had hired before were all famous strong teams. In Greater Heights' eyes, the people from Chuanjin were at the same level as those teams. They probably couldn't fight the boss, but they were more than enough to lure the boss away. Wuji said, "Since the boss is so strong, I think we need to look at the reward first." That's right. Working with smart people was fun. As soon as Wuji finished speaking, Greater Heights took out a pile of shiny items and placed them on the table. When the group of country bumpkins from Chuanjin saw the items on the table, their eyes went wide. It's actually the thunderstorm spell. Mingdo exclaimed as he pounced forward and hugged a skill book. Lightning Mob wasn't a very powerful skill in a magic class, but it was very important for lightning mages. This was because it was the prequel to Lightning Burst, which was the prequel to the ultimate skill, Thunderbolt. Because of this characteristic, Lightning Mob was a popular skill for lightning mages. However, this skill was very rare. So far, Mingdu had only seen one person learn this skill. Oh my god, it's Absolute Defense. In Lao Air was also holding a book in shock. Absolute Defense could make a shield warrior invincible for a short period of time. It wasn't a very powerful skill, but it was very rare. The other skill books and equipment on the table were similar to the previous two books. All of them had the same characteristic, and that was that they were very rare. To be able to get so many rare items, the strategy expert was indeed worthy of his reputation. How about we run after we get the items? Mingdu whispered in the channel. To place one's pride said, "Isn't that daylight robbery? It's not technical at all." Chapter 716. Just as the group of bad people from the Chuanjin sect was thinking about how to squeeze out the Great Heights of Zenith without doing any work, the Great Heights of Zenith smiled and said, "It seems that everyone is very satisfied." Mingdu was startled and said, "Aren't you afraid that I will take it and run?" Great Peaks waved his hand and said, "This is just the deposit. Whether you can help me complete the task or not, these things are all yours. If you can complete the task, I will reward you handsomely. Of course, even if you take the things and run, I will treat you as a friend." Hearing Zenith's words, Mingdu was actually speechless. Wuji secretly sneered and said, "Sure enough, he is a scheming guy." Everyone was greedy. The deposit was so generous, so the reward must be even more tempting. Great Peaks just casually used a trick to tie up the Chuanjin group. These guys from Chuanjin were not stupid. Naturally, they knew that Great Peaks was playing tricks, but everyone was willing to take the bait. Under the generous reward, they must be brave men. Seeing that everyone from Chuanjin had made up their minds, Wuji couldn't refuse. He could only say, "Well, we will follow you to do this task." "Great, I will issue the task to you," Great Peaks said as he opened the interface and began to operate. TSK, Wuji is really a good brother. He didn't drop the ball at the critical moment. Wuji was also the person in charge of Chuanjin. The usual actions were decided by Wuji. Seeing that Wuji agreed to Great Peaks, everyone treated Wuji as a brother, as if they were scolding someone else just now. Wuji was used to this group of people's arrogance. He wasn't surprised or touched. After Great Peaks issued the task, he said to Wuji, "Boss Wuji, you can accept it, in." Wuji nodded and said to Wang Yu, "Old cow, accept the quest." As Wang Yu opened the UI to accept the quest, he said, "You guys can do this quest. I won't be joining in. I'll take this opportunity to check up on the forum and find my materials." "You're not going?" Wuji frowned. "Why?" Wang Yu said, "It's just luring the boss. You guys are enough. I prefer to fight the boss." Wang Yu's hands had always been quite despicable. Usually, when he was in an instance dungeon, he liked to go around playing with cats and dogs, causing endless headaches for others. When he heard that a boss that was perfectly fine was left there for no reason to fight, Wang Yu reckoned that he would suffocate to death. Just as Wang Yu's voice fell, Greater Heights, who was at the side, burst into laughter. "Fight a boss? You really don't understand the boss's strength. Not to mention you. Even if your entire team went up, you might not be able to defeat it. Okay? Greater Heights sneered. Only my method is the most reliable. Greater Heights was indeed a very confident guy. Actually, Greater Heights didn't want to say such hurtful words when he saw that Wang Yu was a Chuanjian member. However, when he saw that Wang Yu was throwing a tantrum and affecting the team's morale, he couldn't help but say it. A mere gangster that terrorized passersby on the street wanted to fight a boss. This kid must be dreaming. Wu Ji asked from the side. He was the one who brought you here. Don't you know his name? Iron Bull. What's wrong? Is he very famous? Greater Heights asked. Then you don't usually go on the forum? Chun Xiang also asked. Of course, I often study instance dungeon guides. Greater Heights replied. So that's how it is. The Chuanjian members suddenly realized that this Greater Heights was actually a technical geek. He was only interested in instance dungeons and didn't pay attention to the gossip on the forum. It was no wonder that he didn't know Wang Yu. What's wrong? Seeing the expressions of the Chuanjian members, Greater Heights was at a loss. Nothing. Wu Ji turned his head and said to Wang Yu, Don't you see that this brother has rare items on him? Who knows? He might be able to help you get the materials you want. Huh. Wang Yu heard this, and his eyes lit up. That makes sense. Then I'll go and take a look. That's more like it. Wu Ji chuckled and made a victory sign towards Greater Heights. After Wang Yu accepted the quest, a mercenary quest appeared in the Chuanjian group's quest column. Quest description: Flower language, 3rd stage, Dance of Flowers, quest rank S. Find a flower speaker's treasure chest in the hidden instance herb garden. Background description: The flower speaker was originally a legendary elf that grew thousands of flowers. However, because he was bewitched by the devil, he made a mistake and was exiled to the Blood Sun territory by the Elf Queen. The Blood Sun territory, as the name suggested, was Yuhuicheng. However, the word exiled was a bit strange. It turned out that in the eyes of the elves, Yuhuicheng was an existence similar to a prison. However, no one had heard of the 100 Her Garden in Yuhui City, even after mingling around for so long. Have you heard of the Her Garden? Wu Ji asked Ming Jian Daoxue. This guy ran around every day and knew more places. No. Daoxue shook his head. Wu Ji asked the others, What about you guys? No. Everyone shook their heads. Wang Yu said, I have heard of Lu Sun's herb garden. Looking at this group of country bumpkins who had never seen the world, Great Heights said proudly, The herb garden is a hidden instance. Its location is very secretive. Of course you guys don't know about it. TSK. People who knew a lot always spoke like this. They looked like they deserved a beating. No wonder even a naked newbie dared to attack Great Heights. This wasn't without reason. Follow me. Great Heights laughed lightly and said to Chuanjian's group. Seeing Great Heights being so cocky, Mingdu clenched his teeth and said, If it wasn't for the generous reward, I really want to strike him to death with lightning. Tell me before you king him. I'll stab him twice. Damn it, of all people to learn from, you have to learn from some old dog. One after another, everyone expressed their displeasure towards this fellow who had reached Greater Heights. This feeling of being looked down upon by others was so familiar. Chuanjian's group followed Great Heights out of Yuhuicheng. They went all the way north through the Sunset Plains and arrived at the depths of the Sunset Mountains. We'll reach the end if we go any further. Seeing that Great Heights had arrived, Wang Yu couldn't help but shout at Great Heights. This was Wang Yu's usual leveling area, so Wang Yu was very familiar with this place. Not far ahead was the camp dungeon. After going over the Sunset Peak, they would reach the neighboring Quintero City. I know, Great Heights responded and quickly walked a few steps forward. He arrived in front of a huge rock and said to Chuanjian's group, It's here. Here? Mingdu was puzzled. I don't see any grass here. The Sunset Mountains were filled with rocks, and the vegetation was only trees. He couldn't tell what the Her Garden was. Don't worry. Great Heights took out a ball-shaped object from his bag and circled around the rock. Then he threw the ball in his hand onto the ground. Chapter 717. Bang! After a cloud of smoke, the position of the boulder suddenly sunk, and a teleportation door appeared in front of everyone. "This is the entrance. Everyone come in." Greater Heights waved at Wang Yu and the others. Wang Yu walked in front and was about to enter when Greater Heights quickly pulled Wang Yu out and said, "Do you know anything? Shouldn't we let the shield warriors know about this dungeon first?" Wang Yu was confused. He asked Wuji, "Is there such a rule?" Wuji shook his head. "This is the first time I've heard of it, too. But I think the shield warriors are afraid of monsters ambushing at the entrance." "Not bad. As expected of guild leader Wuji. You are very knowledgeable." Greater Heights nodded in satisfaction. The designers of Rebirth were very cunning. In order to harm the players, they would use all kinds of dirty tricks. For example, ambushing at the entrance of the dungeon was not only a hidden dungeon, but also a high-difficulty dungeon. Therefore, when players enter a dungeon, they would usually let the shield warriors, who were the most durable, explore the dungeon with their faces. Greater Heights was indeed a cautious player. He was so mindful of such a small habit. However, because of Wang Yu's existence, Chuanjin's group did not have such a habit. After all, Wang Yu was a grandmaster of combat who could take more damage than a tank. "All right, go in then." Wang Yu made way for Lao Air. Lao Air nodded and was the first to enter the dungeon. "Come in, it's safe inside." After Lao Air entered the dungeon, he quickly sent a message that it was safe. Only then did the others enter. Herb Garden, as the name suggested, was a backyard. This dungeon was much bigger than the Illusion Garden in Sky Dragon City. There were flowers and trees everywhere. It was a completely different world from the rocky wilderness outside. In front of everyone was a round vine door full of fresh flowers. It should be the entrance to the next scene. "Everyone be careful. It seems like someone is watching us." As soon as they entered the dungeon, Wang Yu suddenly reminded everyone. Hearing Wang Yu's words, everyone from the Chuanjin sect was shocked. They held their weapons in front of their chests and took up defensive positions. Surveillance. Reaching the pinnacle of perfection froze for a moment. He then took out a stone that was emitting a red glow and clenched his fist. The stone turned into a ball of red light and disappeared into reaching the pinnacle of perfection's hand. Then, an eye symbol appeared on top of Reach the Pinnacle's head, and a shared status appeared on everyone. Panoramic view. Player has reached Greater Heights, and all invisible targets within a 1,000 range have nowhere to hide. The effect lasts for 600 seconds. Eye of Truth. Everyone in Chuanjin was shocked when they saw the eye symbol on Zenith's head. The Eye of Truth was a top-tier tool that could detect invisible units. The Eye of Truth had an anti-stealth effect of over 10 minutes. It was also extremely expensive. Even the cheapest Eye of Truth cost over 700 gold. Even then, there was no supply for it. Even if a normal person had it, they would save it for their blade. However, Reaching the Pinnacle had casually used one. This grandson was really rich. He had good stuff all over his body. After buffing the entire team with the anti-stealth effect, Reaching the Pinnacle smiled and said, "Don't be so nervous. There are no invisible units here." Wuji said, "Don't be careless. It's always better to be careful." Between the Eye of Truth and Wang Yu, Wuji decisively chose to believe in Wang Yu. "He do as you wish." Reaching the Pinnacle chuckled and shook his head helplessly. He thought to himself, "What bullsh asterisk T Chuanjin? It's all bullsh asterisk T. I've already used the Eye of Truth, yet you're still acting like a coward." There was no helping it. Everyone believed in the thing in front of them. It was normal for Reaching the Pinnacle to have such thoughts. Wuji was a little puzzled and asked Wang Yu, "Is there really someone monitoring us?" "Yes, and there's more than one. However, the feeling is very weak. I can't figure out the specific location. It seems to be not far away." Wang Yu said, "There's nothing within 10 meters of us." Wuji said doubtfully. Wang Yu's words were too fantastical. Even Wuji was a little confused. Hee. Wang Yu smiled slightly and said, "If everything could be seen with the eyes, the dungeon wouldn't have any difficulty." Wuji, who was pretended by Wang Yu, nodded his head as if he understood. Under the command of Reaching the Pinnacle, Lao Air and Third Bao led the way. Everyone walked towards the direction of the vine door in the herb garden. Wang Yu followed behind the team slowly. From time to time, he would listen to Wuji's complaints. Reaching the pinnacle was a very confident tactician. Therefore, in this operation, Wuji was stripped of his right to command. He could only quietly follow behind and be a babysitter. Reaching the pinnacle was the boss. He had money to speak with. After walking for about a minute, Wuji privately messaged Wang Yu. This idiot still dares to call himself a tactician. We've been walking for so long, and he still hasn't noticed anything wrong. Something wrong? What's wrong? Wang Yu was confused. Wuji said, "Didn't you notice that we've been walking for so long, and we haven't encountered a single monster? That makes sense. Why is there nothing in the hidden dungeon?" Hearing Wuji's words, Wang Yu also came to a realization. The difficulty of the hidden dungeon had always been very high. There were only two ways for the designer to increase the difficulty of the dungeon. One was to set up traps, and the other was to increase the number and strength of the monsters. In a dungeon like this, it would be an exaggeration to have guards every 3 steps. There should be traps and monsters within a 10-meter radius. However, it was still safe after walking for more than 100 meters. This was too abnormal. Just as Wuji finished speaking, reaching the pinnacle suddenly gave an order. "Front row, don't go any further." "What's wrong?" Yin Lao Air asked, reaching the pinnacle in confusion. "Didn't you guys notice something wrong?" This kid's reaction is quite fast, but he's still slower than me." Seeing that reaching the pinnacle had noticed something wrong, Wuji smiled and said to Wang Yu, "Oh." Wang Yu responded and asked Wuji, "So what should we do next?" Wuji said disdainfully, "How would I know? I'm just letting you know. This kid is not as good as me." Wang Yu was speechless. So this was how people who played strategy compared each other. It was so childish. Not good, it's ghost hits the wall. In the game, there were some bosses that could use illusions to make players lose their way in a map and go around in circles. It was usually called ghost hits the wall by players. Reaching the pinnacle said as he took out a disc-shaped item from his bag. Wang Yu knew this item. It was a compass in the game. Wang Yu had won his bag. Reaching the pinnacle had a complete set of tools. "Everyone, follow me." Chapter 718. When lost in the wilderness, a compass, which had a fixed direction, was undoubtedly something to be proud of. Under the guidance of greater heights, the group finally did not have to go around in circles. After walking for a short distance, they saw monsters. These monsters were very regional. They were all flowers and plants. Even so, these monsters did not look easy to deal with. Festering man-eating flower, LV 55, Elite, HP, 20000 MP, 50,000 skills, flower blossom, stealth talent, poison monster introduction. Her Garden's loyal guardian walking clover assassin, LV 55, Elite, HP, 20000 MP, 50,000 skills, vine entanglement, poisonous pollen, stealth, nourishment talent. Poison monster introduction, elusive assassin, poison stealth. Seeing the monster's introduction, greater heights could not help but be shocked. Poisonous monsters had always been disgusting. Once they were poisoned, they would continuously lose HP and even have a speed reduction effect. What was more terrifying was that monsters with poison talent would lose HP by percentage. No matter how high the HP of a tank was, it was no different from a vulnerable class. Stealth was even more so. It was a skill with the same effect as stealth, but it was fundamentally different. Stealth was the use of magic to integrate oneself with the air to achieve the effect of stealth. As long as there was an anti-stealth item, stealth was basically useless. Stealth, on the other hand, used the terrain to hide oneself. Just like a soldier in camouflage, it was difficult to distinguish. Between these two methods, stealth was usually harder to be discovered. After all, anti-stealth items were very rare. However, in this map, stealth was obviously much better than stealth. Because these monsters were all plants, they basically had the same color as the terrain. If they lay on the ground, it would probably be difficult to distinguish them. At this time, The two types of monsters were only about 10 meters away from the team. There were a total of 9 monsters, 6 of which were 3-leaf assassins and 3 man-eating flowers. They were divided into 3 groups in an arc. Once the team entered the aggro zone, the monsters in the 3 areas would attack together. If they wanted to pass through, they would have to kill the monsters on the left and right sides. Let's split into 2 groups. First, whoosh. Just as Greater Heights was about to deploy a strategy, he heard the sound of a bowstring. 3 arrows flew out and hit the man-eating flowers in front of them and 2 3-leaf assassins. F***CK. Who the F***CK told you to shoot at random? Seeing this scene, Greater Heights was instantly enraged. He turned his head and shouted. Yang Na, who was holding a crossbow, said, "What are you making a fuss about? It's just killing monsters." As long as Wuji didn't give any instructions, Chuanjin's players would always attack freely. Yang Na, raising her hand to shoot the monster, was completely a conditioned reflex. She didn't realize that Wuji was no longer the commander. Idiot, you still dare talk back? This is a level 55 hidden dungeon monster. Believe it or not, Before Zenith could finish his sentence, he immediately shut his mouth because he saw Yang Na's crossbow aimed at him. Yang Na said with a cold face, "Watch your mouth, or I'll kill you." Yang Na did not have a good temper. This young lady had an eccentric personality. After mixing around with Chuanjin for so long, she had not learned anything else, but killing anyone she didn't like was something she could do easily. His employer was being threatened by a hired player. This was the first time Greater Heights had encountered such a situation. His brain couldn't react in time. Originally, Greater Heights wanted to show off his boss's power, but he glanced at the Chuanjin people who were ready to watch the show. In the end, he helplessly lowered his head. In the game, the real truth was that the fist was hard. Even if Greater Heights was the boss, if his skills were bad, he could only swallow his anger when threatened. At this time, the monsters on the opposite side had already attacked. The man-eating flowers seemed to be long-range monsters. The 3 man-eating flowers opened their mouths, and 3 green slime intersected and sprayed towards Yang Na. Yang Na snorted coldly. She lifted her leg and kicked Greater Heights of Perfection's buttocks. Greater Heights of Perfection's buttocks didn't even know what was going on. He staggered forward from the kick and was hit by 3 blobs of mucus. He was green from head to toe. When the people of the Chuanjin sect saw this, they all wiped the sweat off their foreheads. This woman really holds a grudge. Quick, quick, save me. Greater Heights was really a useless player. He was clearly poisoned, but he acted like he was blind. He waved his dagger in a flurry and shouted loudly. The only person in the team who could heal him was Wuji, but Wuji was extremely unhappy with Greater Heights. He couldn't wait to watch Greater Heights make a fool of himself. So why would he save him? Seeing that Greater Heights was about to die, Chun Xiang couldn't bear to see him die. He cast a purification spell and detoxified Greater Heights' poison. Stop messing around. You've already taken his deposit. Can't you guys be more serious? Chun Xiang criticized in the channel. To place one's pride, said disdainfully, who asked him to be so pretentious? The people of the Chuanjin sect had always been generous with their words, so they didn't really care about reaching the pinnacle of perfection. Chun Xiang said, "Don't forget, there will be a reward for completing the quest. Do you understand?" "All right, for the sake of the reward, there won't be a next time." Everyone expressed their stance. Wuji also cast Heal on Reach the Apex, restoring Reach the Apex's health back to full. On the other hand, Greater Heights tactfully ran behind Yinlao. Yinlao buffed him with the entrenched defense status to increase his defense. "Watch your step." At this time, Wang Yu suddenly shouted, giving Greater Heights a fright. By the time he reacted, vines shot out from the ground, heading straight for Yang Na and Ming Du and the others behind her. With Wang Yu's reminder, the people of Chuanjin were prepared. Seeing the vines flying over, Yang Na and Exquisite Dream both dodged backwards. Bai Ming Yoyu and Mingjian Daoxue raised their daggers and slashed at the vines. Wuji calmly gave himself an invincible buff, while Ming Do aimed his staff at the Reach the Pinnacle. Whoosh! With a flash of light, reached the zenith, flew to Radiant City. Vines came from below and wrapped around, reached the zenith's neck. Immediately after, a three-leaf assassin flew up from the ground and circled around Greater Height's back with its vines. The three-leaf assassin's roots quickly wrapped around Greater Heights and stabbed him with its dagger. Mingdu, screw you! Chun Xiang was stunned for a moment, then gave Mingdu the middle finger. Mingdu scratched his head awkwardly. Ah, it's a habit. Fortunately, Greater Height's equipment was quite good, so he was able to withstand the assassin's attack. However, Greater Height's situation was not optimistic after being poisoned. The three-leaf assassin was just about to stab him again when Wang Yu ran to Greater Height's side, grabbed the three-leaf assassin, and pulled it off Greater Height's body. Bang! After being grabbed by Wang Yu, the three-leaf assassin quickly released a cloud of poisonous green pollen. Wang Yu reacted quickly and threw the three-leaf assassin away. Chapter 719. At that moment, to place one's pride's shadow chain kick landed on the spot where the three-leaf clover assassin landed. With a cry of agony, the three-leaf clover assassin was instantly killed. Shadow chain kick was indeed the ultimate move of a grandmaster of combat. When the damage of this skill was unleashed, it could even kill monsters with 200,000 HP. It was so strong that it was like a bug. They're here again. To place one's pride had just killed the three-leaf clover assassin when Greater Heights shouted again. At the same time, 5 vines flew up from the ground and shot at Greater Heights. Seeing this, Wang Yu grabbed Greater Heights' collar and jumped back to dodge the attack of the vines. At that moment, Yin Lao Air rushed over and raised his hand to use group mockery. The 5 vines immediately flew toward Yin Lao Air. Then, Bao San leaped forward and used Collapsing Mountain to send the 5 three-leaf clover assassins flying from the ground. Then, he used Triple Slash to gather the 5 monsters together. Finally, he landed on the ground and swung his hands, activating Whirlwind Slash. The 5 three-leaf clover assassins cried out in pain as they were slashed. Mingdu followed up with a fire. In less than 20 seconds, the 5 three-leaf clover assassins were killed on the spot. At the same time, the 3 man-eating flowers were also killed by the 2 assassins and the archer from Place One's Pride. This is seeing how strong Chuanjin and the others were. Greater Heights was dumbfounded and could not even speak properly. Although reaching the apex was trash in combat, reaching the apex was a player who loved to clear quests. He had worked with countless experts before, so his judgment was naturally quite high. For experts, it was a basic requirement for them to be able to fight elite monsters in level 55 dungeons at level 40. However, this was the first time they had seen someone from the Quan Zhun sect wipe out 9 monsters so cleanly and reach the pinnacle of rebirth. If anyone else saw this scene, they would definitely be amazed by the high damage output of Chuanjin's players. However, as a highly intelligent player, Zenith knew very well that the players who were able to kill 9 high-level monsters in such a short amount of time definitely did not rely on simple damage output. Being able to quickly split into 2 groups in the blink of an eye was a battle instinct. Being able to taunt and pull the aggro of a monster while it was attacking their teammates was a superb coordination technique. From this, it could be seen that Chuanjin was not as sloppy as they looked. Instead, they were a battle-hardened team. What was especially shocking was Bao San's superb control. As a strategist, Greater Heights was a theorist, so he was very familiar with the warrior's skills. Collapsing Mountain only had a knockback duration of 5 seconds, and Bao San had used Triple Slash to attack the 3 monsters from different directions, forcing them into a group. Finally, he had activated Whirlwind Slash before the monsters hit the ground. This was the first time he had seen someone with such precise and superb mechanical skills like peak of perfection. But what? A bunch of small monsters are so poor. Let's go. In the face of Greater Heights' surprise, Chuanjin's people seemed to have done something insignificant. They casually flipped over the corpses on the ground. After seeing that there was no equipment or items, they said in a slightly depressed tone. Chuanjin's calm attitude made Greater Heights even more speechless. Meow. No wonder people often said, those with great reputations do not live up to their name. With these people's abilities, they still called themselves a motley crew. It was obvious that they were mocking other players. After witnessing the elusiveness of the three-leaf assassin and the poisonous attack of the man-eating flower, he was at his peak and obediently stayed behind Lao. The team encountered a few waves of monsters along the way. Under the protection of Chuanjin's people, it was more daunting than dangerous. Soon, they arrived at the entrance of the vine door. Second bro, go and open the door. Wuji ordered Lao at the back of the team. Along the way, the Quanjin sect had been rampaging about. Their method of killing monsters was very barbaric, and there was no strategy to speak of. Reaching the peak of perfection had seen this, and naturally understood that these guys were indeed extraordinary. Thus, reaching the peak of perfection tacitly agreed to Wuji's shameless behavior of treating himself as the commander-in-chief. Lao received Wuji's order. Just as he was about to open the door, a large three-leaf assassin suddenly appeared under Lao's feet. Wang Yu's eyes narrowed, and he yelled, "Second bro, roll over!" Lao's reaction was very fast. As soon as Wang Yu's voice fell, Lao flipped backward on the ground and rolled in front of greater heights. Before Lao could get up, the large three-leaf assassin suddenly broke out of the ground. A burly figure flew out and blocked in front of the vine door. "Stupid intruder, are you here to be nourishment for my people?" Under the three-leaf assassin, a large three-leaf assassin with a large head shouted coldly at the team. Seeing this strange and almost funny-looking guy, the team casually cast detection on him. Three-leaf Reaper Kai, LV55, Gold Boss, Elite, HP, 500000 MP, 100000 skills. Assassin proficiency, with assassin talent proficiency. Talent. Enhanced poison. Looking at the three-leaf Reaper's attributes, Mingdu could not help but laugh. So it's a level 55 gold elite boss. I thought it would be very strong looking. The members of the Quanjin sect had killed many bosses on a daily basis, ranging from gold to elite. They had even seen dark gold epic bosses. Thus, when they saw that the Shamrock Reaper was only a gold elite, they didn't pay too much attention to it. Greater Heights reminded them, "Everyone be careful, this is an elite boss. This kind of boss is much harder to fight than normal bosses." In response to Greater Heights' reminder, Mingdu laughed and said, "Haha, it's just an elite boss. We've killed more than you've ever seen." As he spoke, Mingdu raised his staff, and a bolt of lightning fell from the sky and struck the three-leaf Reaper's head. -10111, a huge critical damage floated up, and the HP bar above the boss's head dropped a little. After being struck by Mingdu's lightning, the three-leaf Reaper shook its head in a daze. Suddenly, it lowered its body, lowered its head, and slammed its butt into the ground. "Aya! Is it committing suicide out of shame?" Seeing the three-leaf Reaper's sudden action, Mingdu was stunned for a moment and said, "With such a strong ego, this guy should be a mimosa, right?" However, before Mingdu could finish his words, he shut his mouth in the next moment. Although the three-leaf Reaper had slammed into the ground, it did not die. Instead, it disappeared. It had to be known that greater mastery allowed players to activate Eye of Truth, which allowed them to detect all invisible units within a 10-meter radius. Therefore, the three-leaf Reaper could not use stealth. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.